fights through back pain to fire the Southern Guards to the top at Live Golf. We'll have details around 6:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Two early morning queues around Joburg. One is recovery of yesterday's truck crash, which is underway. N1 southbound by Eldorado Park between the Golden Highway exit and the Potch Highway split. There is a bit of backlogging going on into that particular scene, and it looks like some overnight roadworks are still with us. N3 south approaching Modelfontein Road. Backlogging traffic coming through from Limbro Park, passing Alex on your way slowly in towards the Edenvale area. Key Ridge Cliffdale is clear at this stage if you're moving either way between Durban and Pietermaritzburg. No major problems there. We were tracking earlier this morning some delays at Hibberdeen on the N2. That seems to have resolved itself. That traffic moving fine. And Cape Town very busy already on the N2 coming in passing Khayelitsha. There is a queue of traffic issuing from Spine Road all the way through passing the airport down towards the airport exit. There is a broken down vehicle along that N2 corridor this morning, and a crash on Hindle Road at Mewway, slowing traffic leaving Blue Downs heading out along Hindle towards the R300. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
8 minutes after 6. Today is Friday, the 20th of March, 2026. Live and direct from Radio Park Building here at SABC HQ, Auckland Park, Johannesburg, to wherever you're hearing us from this morning. In every city, every town, every dorpy, township, kasi, village and hamlet. From the hinterland to the heartland, from the highways to the byways. Good morning and welcome to the Friday edition of the Morning Brief. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. Among some of what we will tell you over the next 3 hours: frontline services sinking deeper into the abyss of austerity budgeting. A growing number of schools across Gauteng are facing electricity disconnections due to unpaid municipal bills, exposing deep financial strain within the education system. With dozens already cut off and many more at risk, the crisis is disrupting teaching and learning, particularly in under-resourced communities. At least 36 schools in Gauteng have already had their electricity disconnected, while over 100 more face imminent cutoffs due to non-payment. Take one region, one district of Gauteng, Ekurhuleni. 138 schools have received disconnection notices, with several already plunged into darkness. It's driving what they are calling a return to chalk and talk method of teaching. You'll know that the province of Gauteng has, over the last few years, been at the forefront of championing a pivot towards more technologically driven methods of teaching and learning. How do you do that when you don't have electricity in the school? So that is the situation that is unfolding. It's not a new situation. It's been unfolding for at least the last year or so. I remember hearing about it from a few school principals that I was engaging with at some point, talking about it, that, there was a change in the mode of doing things, centralization of paying of the bills. I remember at the time that was the issue that they were talking about. And they were saying when allocations that were meant to go directly to schools were stopped and there was a centralization, that's when the problems started, at least according to that anecdotal evidence of those educators that I was engaging with at that time. So it seems the crisis has only gotten worse in that period. At 7:10, we'll speak to Steve Mabona, spokesperson of the MEC of Education in Gauteng, to unpack what that situation is about and how do we pull back from the abyss, from the brink of the abyss of the of austerity budgeting and its impact on education. The other story we'll focus on: has a Nigerian king been coronated in Gugompo City in the Eastern Cape? And if so, does it in any way offend against our cultural diversity as a country, especially if recognition of such a king by members of the Nigerian community in that city imposes no obligations on any state organ or South African citizen? And of course, their migration status is A-OK. If those factors are in play, does it still offend in any way that they've recognized a Nigerian king in the Eastern Cape? Igwe Ndigbo na East London, we're told, is the name or the moniker of that king. The African Transformation Movement is among those voices raising concern and basically calling for urgent government intervention following reports of the coronation of a Nigerian king in the Eastern Cape. The party warns that such an event could undermine the country's legal framework, cultural systems, and recognized traditional leadership structures. The party going on further to demand investigations at multiple levels across government. It specifically is calling for the Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Minister Velenkosi Nihlabisa to safeguard traditional leadership systems and the Premier of the Eastern Cape to launch a provincial investigation. So is it something that is of concern, or is it a storm in a teacup? We'll speak to Zaman Jona, the spokesperson of the African Transformation Movement, at 7:15 to try and get to the bottom of that party's concerns. Lastly, the ANC calling on all peace-loving and patriotic South Africans to unite for what it's calling the People's March in defense of our sovereignty and democratic gains. And that is scheduled for tomorrow, the 21st of March, and it will commemorate Human Rights Day. It is a mobilization that they're describing as being historic, and it will be led alongside the ANC's alliance partners, the South African Communist Party, Congress of South African Trade Unions, COSATU, as well as the SANCO, South African National Civics Organization, seeking to bring together a broad coalition of society, including business, labor, faith-based organizations, and communities across the country. Basically, we are told that it is aimed at defending the country's sovereignty, constitutional democracy, and hard-won freedoms. What's your thoughts? What are your thoughts, rather? Is there a need to be marching in defense of the country's sovereignty at this particular point? And can that be done without seeking to gloss over the contradictions in our society, the calls for accountability at various levels? Can those two sit side by side, or are we at the point where mobilization is now based on the perceived threat to our sovereignty, whether real or, imagined, but basically the feeling that our sovereignty is under threat? Are we at the point where that is now being used to mobilize society, or is this a genuine call by the African National Congress, worried about developments that seem to be threatening the country's sovereignty, and calling on all peace-loving and patriotic South Africans to join them in marching in defense of that sovereignty? 7:20, my guest is Phoebe Potgieter, ANC Head of Policy and Research, also the acting chair of the National Executive Committee's Education, Health and STI Committee. That's coming up at 7:20. Morning brief team, to your stations please for the takeoff. And Musa has all your news updates throughout the 3 hours. Zaikan has got all your sporting action covered over the 3 hours. Rob Byrne is watching the highways and the byways, reporting to you every 20 minutes or so. And Melissa Buta completing your picture with the morning brief in brief. And Dauleng Lechela, right on the money as always, coming through with your business, economics and market updates across the 3 hours. And Sipho Mantula with the extended version of the Africa update, and that's coming up at about 7 this morning. Let's complete the conversation then. You can give me a call throughout the 3 hours. The numbers to dial: 086 000 2032. 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes and messages: 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The first hour of the morning brief on this Friday.
This February, fall in love with the journey. No phones, no flights, just determination, connection, and the open road. From breathtaking landscapes to unexpected challenges, Race Across the World is back. Bigger, bolder, and more emotional than ever. Because sometimes the best way to find yourself is to travel together. Race Across the World Season 4, Thursdays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
The pain of losing a loved one is never easy. At Clientele, we understand that burying loved ones with dignity truly matters. Our funeral plans pay out cash within just 24 hours, and you receive 200 Rand airtime when you claim. Plus, we cover up to 13 people on one plan. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
All right, let's get our journey started. Melissa Puta is in studio with the morning brief in brief. Melissa, good morning. Let's start with, to the list, or the toll of infamy. Add another name that you and I didn't know until about 2 days ago, Khulufelo Morodi. Now we know of Khulufelo Morodi, and that's all because of what's come out of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Yes, indeed. So Nasipi Moya has placed Khulufelo Morodi on special leave after allegations at the Madlanga Commission linked her to sharing confidential tender documents with Fani Nkosi. The decision aims to protect the integrity of the city of Tshwane while a preliminary investigation determines whether there is a case for prosecution. Morodi's duties will temporarily be handled by Hannes Kotsia. The allegations, which include claims of interference in tender processes, remain unproven. The city emphasized that the move is not a finding of guilt, but a precautionary step to ensure transparency and fairness. Meanwhile, Action SA has welcomed the decision and launched its own internal investigation, pledging swift action if any wrongdoing by its members is confirmed.
Yeah, and I see that Action SA has also now suspended her membership as well. This debate around the unequal treatment of marriage regimes in this country it's been going on for a very long time, and there's been this effort to try and consolidate everything so that we have one marriage law. But until that is achieved, differentiated treatment continues to be the norm.
Yes, indeed. So South Africa's Department of Home Affairs has introduced a reform to ensure equal treatment of Muslim marriage officers. Previously, Muslim religious leaders had to renew their certification every 5 years, unlike other faith groups who received permanent recognition. Under the new directive from Minister Leon Schreiber, this renewed requirement has been removed, granting Muslim marriage officers the same indefinite status as others. The change addresses long-standing concerns that the policy was unfair and discriminatory, especially since it was originally meant to be temporary while new marriage laws were developed. The reform follows earlier steps in 2024 to formally recognize Muslim marriages and is part of a broader effort by the government to promote equality, dignity and fairness across all religious communities.
So I had to look up a little bit to see what hairstyle you have.
No, this is discrimination, honestly.
women just can't catch a break.
No, we can't. This
can't.
year is so difficult for women.
If it's not sanitary pads, now we're talking about hair extensions.
Buningi.
You are safe though.
I mean, for now.
Tell me about it.
So a new study by the Silent Spring Institute found that most popular hair extension products contain potentially harmful chemicals, raising concerns about safety and regulation. Researchers tested 43 products and all detected problematic substances, except 2 of those products, including chemicals linked to cancer, hormone disruption and skin irritation. Some were listed under California Proposition 65, which flags substances associated with cancer or reproductive harm. The findings are especially concerning for Black women who are the primary users of hair extensions, highlighting a long-standing gap in product safety oversight for this particular group. Although the study did not measure direct health effects, experts warn that prolonged wear and heat exposure could increase risks. Researchers are calling for stricter regulation, better transparency from manufacturers, and more studies to understand the health impact. So you know what? It's
Yeah.
a fight we can never win, honestly.
Yeah,
it's one thing or the other at
It's
this
really a
point.
tough one, yeah. I think we must come back to the story. At
We
some
definitely
point. Just try and
should.
understand
And
what's
next
going on.
week,
So
maybe
hair
unpack
extensions,
it.
hair extensions being the latest point of concern. Thank you for that, Melissa Puta, with the morning brief in brief.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
On the weather front, just one impact-based warning. It is a yellow level 2 warning, and it is in place over the northern interior of the Eastern Cape. That yellow level 2 warning is for severe thunderstorms with heavy downpours leading to localized flooding of low-lying areas, susceptible roads and bridges, as well as large amounts of small hail and strong damaging winds leading to localized damage of infrastructure, settlements, vehicles and livestock. So that is expected over the northern interior of the Eastern Cape. Then there's an advisory, and it is for hot and humid weather that will result in extremely uncomfortable conditions over the eastern parts of KwaZulu-Natal. Otherwise, the rest of your weather looks like this. Pretoria, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers with a minimum of 18 and a maximum of 29. Johannesburg, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 17 to 27. Vereeniging, partly cloudy with isolated afternoon showers and thunder showers, 17 to 28. Mbombela will have morning fog patches, otherwise partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 19 to 28. Polokwane, partly cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 18 to 26. Mahikeng will be partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 17 to 29. Freiburg, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 15 to 29. Bloemfontein, partly cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 19 to 28. Kimberley, partly cloudy, windy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 19 to 28. Uppington, partly cloudy, 19 to 28. Cape Town will be cloudy with isolated morning showers and rain, 16 to 28. George, partly cloudy with isolated showers and rain, 18 to 24. Gqeberha will be partly cloudy, 19 to 23. Gukompo City, formerly East London, partly cloudy with showers and thunder showers, 19 to 25. Durban will be partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 24 to 33. Richards Bay, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 24 to 36. And lastly, Pietermaritzburg will have morning fog patches, otherwise partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 18 to 35.
This February, fall in love with friendships that feel like family. Old bonds, new beginnings, and chapters that remind us why love, in all its forms, matters. The story comes full circle in The Best Man, the final chapters, where love, loyalty, and life collide one last time. Because some stories stay with you long after the final scene. The Best Man, the final chapters, weeknights 7 p.m. only on S3. Beloved.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
All right, at 24 minutes after 6, in fact, make that 25 minutes after 6. Let's turn to this story. The escalating conflict in the Middle East, triggering a renewed energy crisis in Europe, exposing vulnerabilities that many believed had been addressed after Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Despite efforts to diversify energy sources and reduce dependence on Russia, the EU now finds itself once again grappling with soaring prices, geopolitical pressure, and internal divisions over how to secure stable and affordable energy. Let's speak to Professor John Strimlaw, Wits University Honorary Professor of International Relations. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time, Prof. What questions that we thought had already been answered is this crisis in the Gulf raising for Europe at the security level, but also at the energy security level?
Well, it's raising a lot of questions, Thulasani, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about these questions. But it's really bad news, and you have focused on so many topics that have recently been really bad news, but it's part of the educational function that you're providing for listeners, and I think that that's ought to be celebrated. But there is no good news out of the Middle East, and in fact, a war without a strategy was the title of a recent Economist cover story, and the new cover story is Operation Blind Fury. And I just think that that Donald Trump is the source of all of our hardship, and it's going to be hard for South Africans to accept the raising price of oil because it is so unnecessary.
So it's oil is part of the story, isn't it, Prof? With the Strait of Hormuz and where it leads to, that Gulf region and the countries and their critical importance in the global oil trade. But there are also conversations about liquefied natural gas also coming into the mix.
Yes, there are, and I think that South Africa is at least positioned to have as many friends as possible around the international community, so that China and Japan and Europe and all of the global South and no one dislikes South Africa, and so that I think that that's worth banking on, but it's going to be very, very tough. I mean, the closing of the Hormuz Straits, which was predictable, absolutely predictable that Iran would do this, and Trump didn't seem to think of that contingency, and then he's asking for help from Europe when he did not consult Europeans before he went into the Iran war, this misguided war. He only consulted with the Zionists in Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, and it's an unholy alliance, but it's causing enormous damage, and most of all to South Africa. Its growth rate is already barely keeping up with population. Barely 1%,
Yeah.
and this is going to be a terrible catastrophe.
Could it be, as a parting shot, Prof, could it be that this conflict's most significant bite in the form of the disruption of the energy markets across the globe and their ripple effect in domestic markets, including the United States, as well as the perhaps unpopular decisions that are needing to be made around, for instance, sanctioned oil from Iran that is stranded on some tankers at sea, and also issues around temporarily lifting some sanctions on Russia? Could it be that that bite actually turns out to be the pressure point, at least in U.S. domestic politics, that perhaps changes the game as far as President Trump's approach is concerned on these matters?
Well, that's the most optimistic and hopeful note to end on. But I think that the Chinese lesson of electricity is for South Africans the principal electricity lesson out of this mess.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time this morning and sharing of your insights. That's John Strimlau, who is a Wits University Honorary Professor of International Relations. 6:30, standing by is N. Musa. By the way, N, there's a demand that you must also come to studio one of these days here at Radio Park. Not this thing in lofty heights of TV. You must come to radio.
Okay.
Be among the people and do what Ndauling does once in a while, constituency work.
Okay, how many days are you giving me?
I don't know. The listeners, it's not me. One of the listeners said, I'm satisfied. I've seen Ndauling. Now I want to see N. Musa.
They can check my socials.
No, that's not enough. What's in your headlines?
Well, good morning to us. In the headlines, police say the compliance investigation into businessman Calvin Matibedi's security company in Durban has uncovered weapons linked to the volatile Inanda area. Action SA has suspended the City of Tshwane's councillor and Corporate and Shared Services MMC, Kulufelo Murodi, as a member of the party. Yesterday, the Tshwane Mayor Nasipi Moya placed Murodi on special leave after evidence presented at the commission indicated that she allegedly shared internal land lease tender documents with the Gauteng Organised Crime Police Sergeant Fani Nkosi. And the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will hold off future attacks on Iranian gas fields after being asked to do so by the US President. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Pretty heavy backlogs around the El Dorado Park area, both sides along the M1. There's a crash and breakdown going north before the Golden Highway. So coming off the Potch Highway up from Lenasia, you go through Deadman's Bend onto the M1 towards Golden Highway, very slow. And then on the Bloemfontein side, the N1 South, recovery of yesterday's truck crash underway just past Golden Highway. So quite a big backlog into some lane restrictions there. N3 already queuing up at the Heldon Ace into that traffic restricted zone there on your way to Van Buren Road, heading up towards Giluli. Very slow. N3 South at Marlborough Drive looking tight, as well as some delays as you come into that Linbro Park area this morning. Pretoria looking fairly normal. Durban also off to a good normal start. The N2 coming in from Amansam Toti, a little bit of peak hour traffic around Twin Hill, around Spaghetti Junction, but all fairly normal, nothing outrageous there. Cape Town, a lot of traffic on the M1 inbound this morning, coming through from sort of Parow area, already backing up towards Kuba. Get a change. The N2 very busy, not only with volume, but there's also a breakdown after a Hospital Bend as you come through the Bend and onto Nelson Mandela Boulevard. So backlogging traffic on that section at the moment. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, good morning to you. So live cricket action on the go in Auckland. Is it a T20? Because if it's not 150, it's really low.
It is a T20.
Really, really low.
I know.
Even in the T20, okay.
But you know what? It's this game is slipping away from us because the Proteas women under serious pressure in Auckland. New Zealand are at the last check on 136, and that's after the loss of 4 wickets, and this is after 17.1 overs. They need literally 14 runs from 18 balls, with captain Sophie Devine leading the charge. The Proteas women's team, they need something special here, either a wicket or a moment of magic to keep this T20 alive. Let's go to some more action later this morning. You can look forward to more cricket, where the Proteas men will take on New Zealand as well in their third T20 international, also happening in Auckland. The first ball will be bowled at around 8:15 this morning, with the 5-match series level at 1-1. Proteas stand-in captain Keshav Maharaj says his side have enjoyed strong support in New Zealand, while Black Caps opener Devon Conway admits his South African roots and understanding of Afrikaans adds an extra edge to an already tight rivalry. And let's go to soccer, where the Kaizer Chiefs defender Aidan McCarthy has reiterated his coach Cedric Kaze's comments that they need to finish in the top 3 no matter what. After a string of losses, Amakosi picked up their first win in 2 months last weekend. They beat Durban City 1-0. McCarthy says it's the top 3, do or die.
I feel like we just all need to have the same vision, and that vision is finishing top 3. No matter what happens with other teams, it's out of our control, but do the best that we can as a whole team together to finish in that top 3 position so that we play in Africa again next season.
Now, more soccer. Senegal have rejected CAF's decision to strip them of their Africa Cup of Nations title and award it to Morocco. CAF ruled that Senegal forfeited the final after a brief walk-off, but Federation President Abdoulaye Fall has labeled the decision unfair and unprecedented. Senegal are now preparing a legal challenge at the Court of Arbitration for Sport in a bid to reclaim the title. Now, FIFA World Cup 2026 runs from the 11th of June to the 19th of July, and you can catch every moment live on SABC3, SABC Plus, and SABC radio stations. The world's biggest football showpiece, brought to you by SABC Sport. Golf. South Africa's Charles Schwartzel showing grit and experience on home soil, batting through a back injury to help the Southern Guard GC surge to the top of the team standings for the opening round of Live Golf South Africa at Steyn City. The 41-year-old carded an impressive 5 under par 66 and says he's managing the discomfort as the tournament progresses.
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be very similar. We both got in this magnesium bath yesterday and we were lying there for recovery, so I guess we both be on our way there after this. Look, that's what we do most of the time. Every week, there's a warm-up and then a sort of physio session after each round. You walk a long way, yeah, especially so your legs get tired, and it's just my mornings. Looks like this week is going to be more effort than normal, and look, I just hope I can manage it like I did today going forward. I don't need it to get any worse.
And finally, athletics. South African sprinter Viwe Jinqi starting a strong comeback season, starting with the World Athletics Relays in Botswana. The 21-year-old says competing against the likes of Britain and Jamaica will push the team to new levels as she also sets her sights on a possible 100 and 200-meter double at the Commonwealth Games. That's your sport on the morning brief. Check back for more. Top of the hour, I'm Zaikan.
The business update on SAFM.
Hey, Ndaulen, good morning to you. So for the first update, just like that wave, when you're on those long haul flights and you see this wave of sunlight on that global map, starting in one region and sweeping through, and this is predictable. This wave of standing pat on rates was as predictable as that.
You're absolutely right, Thulas, with the European Central Bank and the Bank of England both leaving rates unchanged yesterday following the Fed's pause. Now, both central banks cited rising inflation risks from the war in the Middle East. The ECB kept its key rate at 2%, warning that surging oil and gas prices could push consumer prices higher while slowing Eurozone activity. ECB President Christine Lagarde said the region is resilient, but stressed policymakers are monitoring energy markets, wage pressures, and the potential for second-round inflation effects. In the UK, the Bank of England kept rates at 3.75%, signaling that further rate cuts are unlikely in the near term due to those energy-driven inflation pressures. Now, economists say the coordinated pause reflects caution among major central banks, balancing the need to support growth with the risk of another inflation wave from rising energy costs.
In television, digital entertainment, tell me about MultiChoice and this update that they are giving about Showmax.
Yeah, so they've finally given us an update on how things will work once Showmax is phased out. The company has informed customers that the streaming service will be phased out with operations ending on the 30th of April and the last day to redeem subscriptions or vouchers on the 31st of March. The big question around Showmax being phased out was where the content, the Showmax Originals content would sit. And the group says that those shows and other licensed content will move to a dedicated section on the DSTV Stream app. The move, of course, follows years of heavy losses since its relaunch with NBC Universal. Showmax reportedly accumulated over 10 billion rands in trading losses, with subscriber growth failing to keep pace with content costs. Now, MultiChoice reached an agreement with NBC Universal Comcast to terminate the contract, reducing financial exposure. The parent company, Canal Plus, said the closure aligns with its strategy to focus on a larger in-house streaming platform already active in other African markets. The group confirmed no staff retrenchments will result, with employees supported through transition programs.
All right, recap for us how we closed in the markets yesterday and how we've opened this morning in those regions that have started trading.
So stocks clocked another day of losses. Stateside, markets sinked deeper into the red as traders watched for more developments coming out of the Gulf region. Sentiment was also downbeat back home, fueled by a sell-off in precious metals, with gold and silver shedding around 5% and 10% respectively, as fears about the Iran war and inflation gripped global markets. Now that saw resources lose 6.3%, leading to a near 3% decline in the JSE All Share. The rand, however, retracing losses this morning after breaching past 17 to the dollar yesterday. It's now sitting at 16.78 to the greenback, 22.49 to the pound, and 19.39 to the euro. Oil marginally slipping this morning, but still trading above $100 a barrel, sitting exactly at $102. The elevated energy prices continues to weigh on markets, with Asian stocks mostly in negative territory this morning. Investors there also digesting monetary policy moves as the People's Bank of China joined other global central banks in standing pat on interest rates.
All right, Dowling, we'll talk again just after 7:30 with the second update of the morning.
Africa Update on SAFM.
And as always, on a Friday, the extended version of the Africa Update with Advocate Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning. Let's start with concerning developments coming out of the Sahel region. What's this about that region of the African continent being the quote-unquote global epicenter of terrorism?
Refreshing morning, Thulas, and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. Indeed, Thulas, when you look at this think tanker from Australia, the Economist and Peace think tanker, saying that when they look at the Sahel region, they are looking at it as what I'll call the belt of terrorism and the extreme violence, Thulas, that is being waged either by the non-state actors against our authorities. Now, once they push Sahel to us, where do we leave the Middle East? Where do we leave North Africa? This is according to this report that they've looked at the trends. Burkina Faso was overtaken by Pakistan to us. That's where we can pick it up also to say it's not only the Sahel. Nigeria also, when you look at ECOWAS to us, they've been also having challenges in the previous year and also this year. Mali, it is also becoming one that is going down, but there are still challenges in Niger. So all these things to us, they are important because when you look at the trends, no matter how Australia depicts Sahel, but we see it now going to the Gulf. You know, we are seeing this trend still in the Middle East. So I think when you do reports, you don't need to be myopic to us. Eyes can see, ears can listen. Minds can gravitate towards where is this global terrorism going? Is it part of military-industrial complex that we see? But this is how this report to us has painted the Sahel as a bad actor. But like I said, one has another side of story. We see it in the Middle East and in the Gulf.
And Washington, on the other hand, continues to be the quote-unquote epicenter of these talks for peace in the Great Lakes region.
Absolutely. That was this week, actually. 2 days ago, there was, I don't say it's a clandestine meeting, but like you say, transactional peace, diplomacy, trying to caution Rwanda and DRC to ease their tension in Washington to us. And this has come, as you know, Rwanda has been highlighted as the negative force, the issues of sanctions against Rwanda for supporting M23. But the meeting in Washington to us, DC was all about the agreement that was signed last year. If you will recall, we've been touching on it on the show. And that's how you can see that Washington is still reining them to still say, yes, have a peace deal, but you still want your minerals. That's how sad it is. We can think that they are on a peace mission here, but they are on a peace transactional meal deal to look at the natural resources. And for Rwanda is to clear its status at the global level.
Here's a country that you and I hardly ever cover,
Absolutely.
Djibouti. Tell me about them and the presidential election that's coming up. Yet one of those that are not going to be that competitive, yeah?
Absolutely, they won't. But Djibouti, the capital city being Djibouti, Thulas, their leader, Omar Gule, has been in power. 78-year-old is seeking the sixth term, Thulas. That's next month, coming from Congo, Brazzaville. Now we are moving towards Djibouti. Djibouti strategic. And why we don't talk about it, Thulas? Probably that's where you have military delinquents there who are moving around there. You have the US, you have China, you have France. It's a strategic region, if you think, Thulas. It's in the Red Sea, it's in the Gulf of Eden, Djibouti. Now, these elections that are coming, like you said, there's no contestation. The guy who's his rival doesn't even have a parliamentary seat. Farah Samata, he's a former ruling party member who created his own party. But they don't see him as a challenge to the old man, Ismail Omar Gule. Now, those elections will closely watch it, Thulas, but like I said, they will be presidential, and only this week they have decreed the 10th of April as the presidential election date.
And the country you cover a lot is the one where it seems sometimes like you're just laying a trap for me to trip over the names. The country whose capital is Antananarivo, whose president is Randrianarina. Madagascar under the spotlight once again this morning. Tell me about them, about the crowds that have flocked to Antananarivo to restore its pre-colonial New Year.
Thulas, you'll be shocked. We are talking New Year in January, in the global calendar of the North. In Africa, we say September. Madagascar, yesterday, they were celebrating New Year, by the way. So this New Year, they say, to restore their leader, Majanka Miadana. This is a man who was in the seat of kingdom in the 19th century. Now, in that celebration yesterday, it was in the University of Antananarivo. It was in the heritage site of Rover of Amobondiribia. It was in the Kianja Barea Mahamasina. These are the areas where the celebration was taking place. Thulas, I've been in that place now. Traditional food there. There's a rice cooked in milk, topped with honey. There is a tasting of todrona. There's traditional dish called tau tau, So their food, Thulas, is also, you can say, like your Mozambique food. It is a seafood, but also rice, also mango, lot of fruits there. Still traditional, If you have been to the island of Madagascar, you will see. But like I said, they were restoring something that happened pre-colonial customs that they are saying they're going back to those connecting with ancestors, sacred fire, purification ceremonies. That is in the capital city of Antananarivo, Madagascar. It's part of SADC, Thulas. You must never forget they are a member state of SADC.
All right, let's turn to your historical archives, Sipho. You have two that you want to cover. 21 March 1990 as well as 21 March 1995.
Thulas, tomorrow in Windhoek, in the land of Sam Shafishunai, Joma, it's a public holiday. 36 years ago, they were liberated. They gained their independence from the then apartheid South Africa. Remember, we used to call Namibia Southwest Africa, Thulas. Despite it has been a case study at the League of Nations, it was captured by Germany before, but when it was seceded to South Africa during those years, you'll recall that's where you find Andimba Toivo Jatoivo. This is the man who took the apartheid government and was later sent to Robben Island. So 21 March 1990, we know Namibia was liberated. So they are celebrating tomorrow, Thulas. The same like us tomorrow is what I'll always call, it can be Human Rights Day, Thulas, but it's Sharpeville Orlando Langa massacre that happened. There were 3 marches that happened simultaneously. In Sharpeville, in 1960, Nyakani Tsolo. In Orlando, from Mufolo, Professor Mangaliso Sobukwe. In Langa, you had Ntate Philip Ada Kosana. That's the history that we narrate. But for the first time, 1995, 31 years ago in the country, we started to commemorate and celebrate what we call the Human Rights Day. And we know very well, like Thulas, it's a highly contested day. we have seen about the desecration, vandalism of the graves of Mangaliso Sobukwe Thulas, but that is very sad if you look at the change of the name town to KwaSobukwe. It has caused tension. But this is the man that we've been in search for the voice. SABC had a good documentary that they have played Thulas where they say, in search for the voice of Mangaliso Sobukwe. And I think that's how, as we are on the eve of the Sharpeville Langa massacre Thulas and Orlando, we are commemorating this great leader.
Well, Sipho, don't say we don't do nice things for you. Take a listen. Lanitra manga manga.
Manga manga.
Salala.
Back to Malagasi.
There you have it. Just for you.
Mr. Tosoma Beseka to Robben is Asante Sana also when you are in Malagasi.
Wait, say that again?
Mesota Besekam.
Yeah.
Mesota Besekam. So it's like Asante Sana, Siabonga, Ralebuka.
Oh, listen to you.
So Rob must start to speak Asante Sana, no?
Now you're saying...
No, I do.
Rob, now...
Interesting.
Just as you're getting to Asante Sana, he's now introducing Malagasy to you.
Oh, it's too much for me. But I want to say this. The amount of people that have come up to me and said, Rob, Asante Sana, since we had that first conversation, it's incredible how many people listening heard it, and that's their introduction to me. It's beautiful. Thank you if you heard that. And, great.
Here's a bit of Salala, Lanitra Manga Manga.
Kasenda kabelunzento Nilauzani avantina Tumbundalana reniaze Isika zambula wanirianuna
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour.
Yep, could listen to that for a long time. Good morning, everybody. We start in Joburg with the usual backlogs coming up the mic one. That's fairly heavy today. Boyston through to Empire. The N3 from Ilan's Interchange all jammed up as it does on a daily basis these days. You just need to know that if you got a flight at the airport and you don't normally come out of Alberton or Germiston areas on your way up there towards Bedford View, you'll be surprised what the commuting public sit in every single morning to get through that, I'll call it a restriction zone. Not much roadworks going on, but there are some traffic restrictions there. The N1 out around Eldorado Park, heavy both ways. Recovery of yesterday's truck crash on the southbound side, just past Golden Highway, and a separate crash on the northbound side. So coming off the Potch Highway from Golden Highway into Deadman's Bend, up the N1 to the Golden Highway. That's all very heavily backed up. Pretoria, the N4, Bequena Highway onto the M1 South. Roadworks there causing problems, and traffic lights are down on Johan Haynes at Anibuerta. Also Hamilton at Park. So coming down from Gazina, there's some pressure. Roadworks on the south coast side of KZN, just catching my eye this morning. 617, just west of Umzinto. If you're on that run between Ikopo and Umzinto, there will be some trouble there with a bit of waiting around. Cape Town, the N2 inbound slow this morning from Robert Sibukwe through Hospital Bend down to a little crash scene just after the bend as you pick up Nelson Mandela Boulevard, and the R300 queuing up from Delft on your way north slowly towards Van Riebeeck Road. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Investing shouldn't feel risky. It should give you security and good returns. Earn up to 7.25% interest per annum with an ABSA Cash Invest Tracker for an investment of 100,000 rands or more. Your capital is guaranteed with immediate access to your funds. That's minimum risk, maximum benefit. ABSA Private Banking customers can invest from just R1. Open via the ABSA Banking app, a branch, private banker, or 0860 111 515. Your story matters. ABSA is an authorized financial services provider. T's and C's apply.
Why is there a horse in your driveway?
You ride savvy. Why drive a Mustang when you can ride one?
What the missus say?
She had a bit of a long face, but now she's stable.
If you need a backup plan, We Buy Cars can sort you out.
Nah, savvy. This thing is eco-chic.
Stop horsing around, cowboy. Rather get one of these from We Buy Cars.
What's the horsepower on that thing?
More than one, Dorf. More than one.
Don't be Dorf, be savvy. We Buy Cars, geared for adventure, geared for you.
Neighbor to neighbor, show me this one is for you. It's ngutshele. If you didn't replace your Sasa Gold card before, your 10 is coming. From around April, you can replace it with the Postbank Black Card. It's simple. Bring your ID and visit a Postbank replacement site near you. For general questions, call Postbank Customer Care on 0800 53 54 55. To find active replacement sites, dial star 120 star 355 hash. Postbank will never ask for your PIN. Terms and conditions apply.
Mzansi, forget the weather forecast. Powerball and Powerball Plus are making it rain lots of cash this March with a staggering 155 million rand in total guaranteed jackpots this Friday. Don't delay. Play Powerball for 107 million rand and Powerball Plus for 48 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app or cell phone banking. Panda, Pusha, Play. Players must be 18 years old to play responsibly. E2 is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
So you thought you were building a business in this economy, but day by day, somehow it grew. You kept going when the freezer didn't freeze, the bucket didn't budge, and the bank balance barely blinked. So you thought you were building a business. You weren't. It was building you. Because this isn't just what you do anymore, it's who you are, and you don't trust just anybody to protect it. Chat to your broker about Old Mutual Insure Business Insurance. Protect what built you. Old Mutual Insure Limited is a licensed FSP and non-life insurer.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
All right, let's turn to this story now. What image does this decision taken by the CAF appeal board, whatever it's called, the recent decision by the Confederation of African Football to strip Senegal of hosting the title of the Africa Cup of Nations and award that to Morocco? It has reignited debate about governance, consistency, as well as credibility in African football, hasn't it? Let's speak to Tebe Ikalafeng, founder and chairperson of Brand Africa, but also founder and CEO, Brand Leadership Group, also Chancellor, Sol Plaatje University. Good morning to you, Tebe, and thank you for your time this morning. Let's talk about this decision. As a sporting decision, rules decision, it's jaw-dropping. But what is it? How do you gauge it as a branding and marketing moment for the Confederation of African Football?
Well, I think, and I'm glad you said for the Confederation of African Football, because I think it's not about the countries. It's not about Morocco or is it about Senegal. But to me, the real conversation is about the systems around the game, the officiating, the decision-making, how CAF ensures consistency and transparency. Because when systems are trusted, you can respect the outcome. And I think in this instance, the challenge for CAF is how lax they were in applying the rules, or being even clear about the rules. Because if the rules were clear, they would have been enforced on the day. So I think it has weakened the brand CAF rather than impacted the two nations. Because at the end of the day, the two nations, I would have done exactly what Morocco has done afterwards, and I would have probably done exactly what Senegal would have done. Both of them were exceptional on the field.
And in terms of the history and context, to what extent does that count? We've had many decisions that shocked many people. Esperance, Tunis title situation in 2019, the ban on the Togolese national team in 2010, as well as a sanction against Kaizer Chiefs in 2002. When those are taken cumulatively, as well as, even during the tournament, the recent tournament, decisions about refereeing being brought to the fore, what does that build by way of a track record that then is counted when an incident such as this one, this major decision, comes into play?
It then calls us back to ask the question about Brand CAF. Is Brand CAF really as strong? Is it very strong in ensuring its own rules, or Brand CAF doesn't even know its own rules? That's the one problem to me. And when I look at this decision, just narrowly at this decision, the game was won or lost on the fields. The referee, who is supposed to be the final arbiter of the match, had given his adjudication of what the match should be, and anything post-it should have been a sanction that does not affect the outcome of the game. I mean, that's how I would have looked at it. But it just speaks to just how the need to review the rules at CAF, but also to educate everybody at CAF. Because do you think that if the players knew the rules, they would have acted that way? I don't think so. And if the referee knew the rules, he would have been able to implement them on site, and this matter would be gone. So to me, it's a big issue. It's a big question mark on brand CAF.
All right, Tebe, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. Tebe Ikalafeng, founder and chairperson of Brand Africa. 7 a.m. Let's go to N Musa, standing by with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, investigation traces Matibedi's company weapons to volatile Inanda, and Action SA suspends Murodi amid allegations of tender irregularities. Good morning. Police say their compliance investigation into businessman Calvin Matibedi's security company in Durban has uncovered weapons linked to the volatile Inanda area. Authorities confirmed 11 firearms belonging to the security company are in police custody at the Inanda police station. The compliance investigation follows a ruling by the Durban High Court on Tuesday, which dismissed his urgent application to block the inspection. Police spokesperson Robert Nechihunda elaborates.
The company has got 815 firearms in their books, in their safes. That for now does not correspond with the record that we have as the police, because our records indicate that this company should be having at least over 850 firearms. Maybe those are just some discrepancies that can be corrected as we're operating, but they are also saying that 11 of their firearms are at subs in under, because they are saying they were taken from a security company. That also needs to be verified, but they said they've got sites in at least 4 provinces. Here in KZN, they've got 2 more sites in Newcastle, site in Gauteng, in Limpopo, and Western Cape as well. So if we don't get those firearms here, that means this operation must go to all those sites.
The SABC contacted Matibedi's legal representative, who says he has not been given instructions to comment on the matter. Action SA has suspended the City of Tshwane's Councillor and Corporate and Shared Services MMC, Kulufelo Murodi, as a member of the party. The suspension is pending a preliminary investigation into the allegations presented before the Matlanga Commission. Yesterday, Tshwane Mayor Nasipi Moya placed Murodi on special leave after evidence presented at the Commission indicated she allegedly shared internal land lease tender documents with Gauteng Organised Crime Police Sergeant Fani Nkosi. Action SA National Chairperson Michael Beaumont.
I received confirmation that the Provincial Executive Committee of Action SA had suspended the MMC as a member of the party as well, pending the outcome of that investigation. So certainly I think what we really can say is that Action SA has responded to this most unfortunate news in the most decisive manner.
The Pietermaritzburg High Court is expected to hear a guilt plea by an alleged hitman charged in connection with the murder of the DA chief Nhlalayenza Ndlovu. Thabo Matonsi is amongst the 4 men accused of killing Ndlovu. He's charged alongside alleged mastermind Nkosi Simpiwe Zuma. Ndlovu, who was a councillor in the Umgeni local municipality, was gunned down at his home in 2023. Mayoral Committee member for Water and Wastewater in the Drakensberg municipality in the Western Cape, Lorenzo Aronsa, says the multi-billion rand wastewater infrastructure under construction at Paarl in the Boerland is boosting the local economy. He says 60% of the workers in the project are residents and of surrounding areas. Construction is expected to be completed in June of 2028. Aronsa says the project will also generate more employment opportunities once it's operational.
Comes a lot of benefits, but also the challenges is the growth, and the challenges comes with that economically, and also when it comes to residents, we have tremendous growth in more housing, and more estates. That means we have these challenges. So what this project, BFR project, is, it actually addresses these challenges now. Yes, for us as a municipality, the benefit for us as to the community, it creates necessary jobs directly at the site itself now for the community.
And finally, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said Israel will hold off future attacks on Iranian gas fields after being asked to do so by the US President Donald Trump. An Israeli attack on Iran's South Pass gas field on Wednesday, followed by Iranian strikes on Qatari gas installations, caused steep rises in the prices of gas and oil. They've eased a bit since. Speaking at a media briefing, Netanyahu has also rejected accusations that he dragged Trump into the war with Iran. The BBC's Simijo Lahosu has the details of how people in the US are reacting to the war.
Amongst Republicans, around 70% have polled to support this war, but amongst MAGA specifically, that's even higher. And that was strengthened with the quick killing of the late Ayatollah Khamenei. But overall, US opinion is quite negative, with half of the public being against the war. And there is little appetite for ground troops for this war to drag on, and we're already seeing warning signs that the public is becoming increasingly skeptical.
Recapping the top story, police say the compliance investigation into businessman Calvin Matibedi's security company in Durban has uncovered weapons linked to the volatile Inanda area. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Theft, accident, and 1 million rand third-party cover for your older car. Outsurance Essential has it all. Get a quote. SMS CAR to 43185. That's CAR to 43185.
Proud of your parallel parking skills? Prouder that your car is paid off? Well, with Outsurance Essential car insurance, you could be saving too. 50-year-old Marco pays only 184 Rand a month for his 2008 Opel Corsa utility, and he gets to choose his own panel beater. Get Outsurance Essential car insurance today for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 Rand. SMS CAR to 43185. That's CAR to 43185. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
Very good morning to you in your SFM sports headlines. Cricket action, New Zealand beating the Proteas women by 6 wickets to take a 2-1 lead in the T20 series. And in soccer news, CAF faces a backlash after stripping Senegal of the AFCON title and awarding it to Morocco. We'll have the details at around 7:30.
SAFM. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Heavy traffic around El Dorado Park. 2 crash scenes. One, busy yesterday's truck crash being recovered southbound, just past the Golden Highway exit at Eldo, so on your way to Bloom and Protea Glenside. And then northbound, a crash pretty much opposite that. So big traffic with a big volume coming off the N12 Potch Highway through Deadman's Bend onto the M1 up to the Golden Highway at Devland. That's northbound, big pressure, and then southbound, a lot of pressure as well. And a lot of traffic ducking off and just using the Golden Highway between Eldo's and Devland, and of course running into some traffic light problems that side as well. Joburg's N3 jam-packed from Elan's interchange up through the Van Buren into the roadworks. Pretoria's N4 Bakwena Highway onto the M1 South. Roadworks there causing some problems again this morning. A stationary truck coming into Pietermaritzburg just around Town Hill from Hilton. That all gets a bit slow as you come into that left lane closure. Higginson Highway out of Chatsworth down towards Mabedi and onto the N2. That is a slow go. Cape Town, no traffic lights this morning. M5 Prince George Drive at Plumstead's Dick Burton Road. So coming up from Retreat and Grassy Park, that's slow. And a lot of pressure on the R300 this morning from Delft all the way through to the Funrippick Road exit at Cales River. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 7. Welcome to it, the second hour of the morning brief on this Friday. It's great to be in your company. In the next few minutes, we'll try and squeeze in as much as possible, or squeeze out of these conversations as much as possible. Steve Mabona, my first guest in this half hour, talking about issues to do with school electricity disconnections in Gauteng, the ones that have already occurred, but also the ones that seem to be imminent. Steve Mabona is my guest and is the spokesperson of the Department of Education in Gauteng. Immediately after that, we turn to the conversation around the installation and coronation of a so-called Nigerian king in the Eastern Cape. Does it raise any points of concern, especially if it doesn't occasion any responsibility or obligations on the side of the state as well as any South African citizens? Is it about celebrating diversity in our communities, or is it a step and a bridge too far? The ATM, African Transformation Movement, certainly believes it is a bridge too far, and we'll speak to Zamantjona from that organization also within this half hour. And lastly, we'll talk to Phoebe Potgieter of the ANC's National Executive Committee, talking about the march that they are calling for to be held tomorrow in defense of the country's sovereignty as well as constitutional democracy. What is that all about? That conversation coming up within this half hour as well. So let's get into it then. The second hour of the morning brief starts now.
In life's most challenging moments of loss, compassion can be your greatest comfort. You shouldn't have to face the financial burden of losing a loved one by yourself. Rest assured, Clientele's funeral plans pay out cash within 24 hours. You can cover up to 13 family members on one plan, ensuring all your loved ones are taken care of, and 3 children are covered at no additional cost. With Clientele, you are not just buying a plan, you are also buying peace of mind. When the time comes, you will need to make important calls with your 200 Rand airtime you will receive when you claim. Plans offer double accidental death cover as well as a transport, grocery and unveiling benefit. Apply today, it's easy. There are no medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Mzansi, forget the weather forecast. Powerball and Powerball Plus are making it rain lots of cash this March with a staggering 155 million Rand in total guaranteed jackpots this Friday. Don't delay. Play Powerball for 107 million Rand and Powerball Plus for 48 million Rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app or cell phone banking. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. E2 is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SFM Radio.
All right, let's get into this conversation. A growing number of schools across Gauteng are facing electricity disconnections due to unpaid municipal bills, exposing what appears to be deep financial strain within the education system. With dozens already cut off and many more at risk, the crisis is disrupting, we are told, teaching and learning, particularly in under-resourced communities. Let's speak to Steve Mabona, spokesperson of the MSc for Education in Gauteng. Good morning to you, Steve. Thank you for your time. Paint the picture for us. How deep is this problem and crisis of unpaid bills leading to disconnections?
Good morning to us and to our listeners. No, there's no school that was cut off. The paper came to us with a media inquiry to say there's about 36 schools that were cut off. But there's nothing of that sort. The only thing that occurred was that there's correspondence that has been circulated to schools that are lagging behind in terms of their municipal services accounts. And you will remember that we've been negotiating with municipalities to say we acknowledge that we owe you, but we are continuing with the process of paying. But what we did was to give a responsibility back to the SGBs, that of paying their municipal accounts. So some had to be taken through the process of training on how they're going to be managing this, because legislation dictates that they must pay their municipal accounts. Not that is a decision that we took as a department to say we'll make them pay. Legislation dictates that SGBs must take care of their accounts. So we just want to dispel the notion that our schools were cut off or not. We are supporting our SGBs and the schools to make sure that they pay their outstanding accounts.
So 0 schools have been disconnected?
Yeah, there's no school that is being
across Gauteng.
Yes.
Despite this problem of non-payment building up over a long period of time, and I've been sharing the experience, the anecdotes that were shared with me in the latter part of 2024 into the earlier part of 2025 of school principals highlighting the problem of the responsibility for payment of those bills being centralized, and saying that once those allocations were removed from them, it started becoming a problem, that they were now facing pressure from municipalities.
No. That's not true. What we did, we took over the responsibility because schools were not paid, as it were. We then centralized the process, continued, we paid, we made sure that we don't have anything outstanding. We then took back the responsibility to the schools to say, you need to pay your municipal accounts, because we just then give them the allocation. But yes, we need to acknowledge that of late, we then had the budgetary challenges where we've been cut off in terms of the allocation that we will receive on a yearly basis from Treasury. But we then had to negotiate with municipalities to say those that are lagging behind, let's acknowledge and make sure that they pay. But we've been allocating money to schools for them to pay. So there's no excuse not paying at all. To a certain extent, you need to make arrangements if you are falling behind, but you must pay. There's no excuse of not paying.
So, but broadly then, without talking to disconnections, are you able to quantify the level of indebtedness in rand and cents of these schools, and what is being done to help them avert any situation where municipalities are threatening to cut off?
No, unfortunately, I don't have the figures offhand, but it's in millions. The only thing that is happening, it's us, continuing to engage with the relevant authorities in the municipalities, be it your CFOs and the MMCs responsible for electricity. And that's what we've been doing. But we are supporting schools to say, don't say the department must pay, you must pay, because we are allocating to you. If there's a shortfall, yes, we will acknowledge that there's a shortfall, but then indicate on when we're going to be augmenting or what would have been a shortfall coming from us.
All right. Steve, thank you for that and for clarifying that situation. Steve Mabona is spokesperson for the MEC of Education in Gauteng.
Why is there a horse in your driveway?
You right, Savvy. Why drive a Mustang when you can ride one?
What the missus say?
Well, she had a bit of a long face, but now she's stable.
If you need a backup plan, We Buy Cars can sort you out.
Nah, Savvy, this thing is eco-chic.
Stop horsing around, cowboy. Rather get one of these from We Buy Cars.
What's the horsepower on that thing?
More than one, Doff. More than one.
Don't be Doff, be savvy. We Buy Cars, geared for adventure, geared for you.
Exciting news, South Africa. SABC TV Licenses has partnered with Capitec to make paying your TV license simple, affordable, and accessible. If you're a Capitec client, sign in to the app and click on Transact. Next, select Pay Bills. Then click Pay At and enter your reference number to complete your payment. It's as easy as that. You'll receive instant SMS confirmation. Now you can keep your stories alive and your screens shining bright. TV licenses. Pay yours. Make a difference.
The only talk radio morning breakfast show that makes sense.
Let's
the
get to
Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
I nearly shot through a red traffic light. Getting ahead of myself. The African Transformation Movement, the ATM, calling for urgent government intervention following reports of the coronation of a Nigerian king in the Eastern Cape. The party warns that such an event could undermine South Africa's legal framework cultural systems and recognized traditional leadership structures. I've got to give credit to the reporting of Times Live on that story to a certain extent. Let me speak to Zaman Jona, the African Transformation Movement's national spokesperson, on that. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. So we saw these videos circulating widely on social media about the installation of this Igwe Ndigbo na East London. What are your impressions? What, if anything, doesn't sit right with you?
Thank you so much. Good morning to you and the listeners. Well, for us as the African Transformation Movement, it is truly a concern, which is given birth to by the fact that already there has been taking advantage of our borders, of our infrastructure, of the little workspace at times that we have, and now it is moving to the space of traditional leadership. It's a great concern. Such an event does not only look down on traditional leadership, it looks down on traditional leadership, the constitution, the country, and the people who belong to the kings and chiefs of this country. Also, it begs a question. A king or a chief that is declared on a particular terrain. Already in South Africa, there are kings and chiefs in those various areas across the country. The area in question has its own king and chief. So if you declare yourself over whose land, who are your people? So these are the kind of questions that started surfacing on the matter, and it was of interest to us that in protection of our constitution, of the laws of this country, and especially African royalty, that we raise this matter.
Are you engaging with the Nigerian community? Because as far as the framing of this event, it is framed as a celebration of the vibrant culture and community that Nigerians living in that area of the Eastern Cape have brought over the past 30 years. So I'm wondering if you are engaging such that if it doesn't violate claims of kingship over a region, but rather is more symbolic and more cultural over a community that is Nigerian by origin and celebrating their own culture, such that there's a way of the two to coexist.
Even if it was the case, though the framing of the reporting on the matter was not the case, it warranted that we stand up, because remember that our duty is also to monitor things that are happening in South Africa, and in defense of our liberties, we then act and raise concerns when they are seen. We have not yet, as the African Transformation Movement, had an opportunity to meet the Igwe Ndigbo na East London. But it was important for us to actually raise this particular matter so that we can ask the relevant authorities. We asked the Premier of the Eastern Cape, we asked Minister Hlabisa, we asked Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Schreiber, and we also asked the CRL to actually respond to the matter. And we are happy that there is a statement out that the Department of Culture is already engaging with the embassy in trying to establish what is it exactly, which is what we want. When we see an anomaly, even if it is inferred, it is important for us to raise the alarm so that we get to the bottom of it.
Lastly, if all of that checks out, the immigration status checks out of the people that were involved, and they say that it is not a claim of any kind of sovereignty or a portion or a region of the Eastern Cape, how then do you reconcile your position with provisions in the Constitution that entitle everyone, not citizens only, everyone, to the right to use their language and participate in the cultural life of their choice, as well as that of religious and linguistic communities and cultural communities, to enjoy their culture, practice their religion, and use their language, etc. How do you reconcile that?
For the African Transformation Movement, truly the liberties that we fought so hard for are here so that they protect and give space of expression for every individual who is in the country. The only time that we feel this matter or such matters must be looked into is when they begin to infringe on the liberties of others. Practice what you can, but all must be done within the bounds. So it is in that spirit that as the African Transformation Movement, we saw it fit and crucial for us to raise the alarm on this thing, to have it checked out so that we see that everything is in line with the laws of this country. So there is no prohibition on our side. If you declare yourself a pastor of a church, if you declare yourself a leader of your community, as long as you do not now move over to an area where now you claim people that belong to other kings as yours.
All right. Thank you for that. Zaman Jona, the African Transformation Movement National Spokesperson.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
And lastly, in this half hour, the African National Congress calling on all peace-loving and patriotic South Africans to unite in what they are calling the People's March in defense of our sovereignty and democratic gains. And that march is set to take place tomorrow, the 21st of March 2026, commemorating Human Rights Day. Let's speak to ANC National Executive Committee member Phoebe Potgieter, who joins me now to take the conversation forward. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. Why this march? Why does South Africa's sovereignty and democratic gains, why do they need defending in the form of this march?
Well, good morning. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Over the last couple of years, particularly with a new administration led by President Trump in the US, there has been a number of incidences where South Africa's sovereignty, our right to decide, our policies, whether it's transformation, whether it is redistribution, have been undermined. I think the recent statement of the US ambassador is one example of that. The purpose of the march is really for South Africans to come together and to be able to unequivocally say that as a country, we went through a negotiations process after a long period of struggle, and that it has been about our right as South Africans to decide our own destiny, and that we will not allow a situation where anybody else outside of the country then undermine that right of South Africans to decide our destiny, and to be able to decide for ourselves what our policies should be, and how do we relate to the world, how do we relate to our neighbors, and that's really what the march on the 21st is about.
So what will be the focal point then of the march? Because it seems much of the pressure that you describe on questions of sovereignty and the right to self-determine has been coming from particularly the United States. Are you marching to the US Embassy or US Consulate? Is that the focus, or is it broader?
It's a broader point, because I think that the question about sovereignty is not just to one particular country, but I think it's a general expression of what South Africa is about and what is the cornerstone of our democracy. So the march will be from Mary Fitzgerald Square in Johannesburg to Constitution Hill. And particularly Constitution Hill, because our sovereignty and our right to self-determination is premised on our constitution. This year, we're celebrating 30 years since the adoption of the constitution. And it's an expression of that what unite us as South Africans is that constitution, and the constitution that talks about the equality of everybody, that talks about the right of human dignity, but also talks about the right to redress, which is one of the things that's under attack, not just by forces outside of the country, but also some of the forces within the country.
The cynical view will say this is what African liberation movements do when they are under pressure, facing questions about their own governance track record and increasing and growing disillusionment among their populations. They pander and turn to the rallying cry about sovereignty and frame it that there's a threat against our national sovereignties. Let's pull together. Let's all unite behind ourselves. Why should we not see it as that?
Well, I think that one just need to look at the kind of world that we live in, where elected presidents of countries get kidnapped, where there's attack on countries unprovoked, where South Africa face very specific pressures. I mean, the accusation of a white genocide, the absurdity of it is something that, and I'm sure the US ambassador in his meetings with all of the South Africans, got testimony from them, from all different political parties and groups, but still it kept being repeated. So I think that it's clear for any South African that we're living in a very dangerous world, but also specifically that the kind of focus that there is on South Africa amongst other countries necessitate for us as South Africans to be able to stand up and say that our constitution is what matters. If there is processes in our country to determine every 5 years or every for local government and the same for national government through which we make decisions. It's a very specific period in the life of our country, as well as what's happening in the world.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. Phoebe Potgieter, member of the National Executive Committee of the ANC. Let's go to Ann Musa, standing by with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, Gauteng's Organised Crime Unit Police Sergeant Fanning Nkosi has denied allegations that the Tshwane CFO Gareth Mnisi and Tshwane Metro Deputy Police Chief Umashi Dlamini used him as a go-between to communicate the obscure tender dealings. WhatsApp screenshots before the Matlanga Commission show Dlamini and Mnisi used Nkosi to communicate with each other. Police say their compliance investigation into businessman Calvin Matibedi's security company in Durban has uncovered weapons linked to the volatile Inanda area. Authorities confirmed 11 firearms belonging to the security company are in police custody at the Inanda police station. And Venezuela's interim president has replaced the country's senior military commanders a day after she brought in a new defense minister. It's the latest change at the top of the Venezuelan establishment since the U.S. military captured President Nicolas Maduro in January. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Fairly busy around Pretoria this morning, Cap City. The N4 Bekwena Highway onto the M1 after Durban Port. The roadwork's still there. That's very slow. The N4, the eMalahleni Highway, all jammed up from Watermeyer down towards the M1. If you're trying to get onto the M1 or trying to push through to Hatfield, it's a bit of a problem this morning. And there's some traffic lights out coming through Gazina, Jon Haynes and Annie Boerter. There's some delays coming off for Steve Biko this morning onto that one. And Paul Kruger at Blut. Those traffic lights down if you're coming into the Pretoria CBD from Capital Park. Extra pressure there. The N1 South has a crash at John Foster. Queues from the R21 highway. R21 approaching the airport with a crash at Atlas Road. That's backlogging you towards the Benoni off-ramp. If you're airport bound this morning, very slow going through there. Still busy with a crash in on the M1 North at the Golden Highway exit at Eldorado Park. Very slow as you come in from Protea Glen this morning on the Potch Highway through Deadman's Bend and up the N1 North in towards that Devlin crash scene. Durban Higginson highways to stand out very slow coming out of Chatsworth. Backlogs down towards the N2. Broken down truck just ahead of Town Hill on the Peter-Maritzburg bound carriageway. So from Hilton, traffic all horribly jammed up. There's roadworks there and a truck blocking another lane. Looks like you might just be squeezing into a single lane getting in towards that Town Hill area today. Cape Town, R300 on a heavy one today from Delft up towards the Van Riebeek Road exit. Problems getting off at Van Riebeek and turning onto Strand Road in towards Belleville through Stickler, and the N7 jamming through Langa up in towards Epping this morning. Quite heavy backlogs from Langa moving through the roadworks up by Viking Way opposite the casino area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning to you, Zai. It's done and dusted in Auckland, and it turned out 150 as the target was never going to be enough.
Oh, Thulas, good morning. Yes, indeed.
It was just never going to do it.
I mean, yes. Even for T20, not the result we wanted. But you know what? The series is still alive, and it unfolded as if, these Proteas women woke up on the wrong side of Auckland this morning.
Sounds like cat caught your tongue, eh? I don't know what to say.
I don't know what happened to them.
Listen, it's sport, man. You win some, you lose some. It's all right.
Hey, you know what? The next time they better bring the pup and the chakalaka, because this is just wrong. We expected a win, but it wasn't to be. New Zealand have taken a 2-1 lead in the T20 series, beating the Proteas women by 6 wickets in Auckland. The Proteas posted 149 for 7 after being sent into bat, but the hosts, they chased it down with 8 balls to spare. Sophie Devine led from the front with a half century, guiding New Zealand home in a controlled run chase. The South African women's team will now need to bounce back in the next match to keep the series alive. Meanwhile, the Proteas men, they'll face New Zealand in the third T20 International this morning with the series level at 1-1. The first ball will be bowled at 8:15 this morning. Let's go to soccer, where Kaizer Chiefs defender Aiden McCarthy has reiterated his coach Cedric Kaze's comments that they need to finish in the top 3 no matter what happens. And McCarthy has missed some key matches this season, and that's due to injuries and suspension, something that doesn't sit well with him.
Being suspended for games and missing games is not a nice feeling, because it's like games that are deciders that I've missed because of suspension. The CAF game, I didn't feel too well about that, but the rules of the tournament are there, so you can't bend or break those rules. And with the league game, I wanted to play so badly, I just couldn't.
In the meantime, in African football, is under growing pressure after its appeals board controversially stripped Senegal of the 2025 AFCON title and handed it to Morocco. The decision overturned a 1-0 result from the final, despite no formal protests being lodged by either team. Critics say the ruling undermines the integrity of the competition, with concerns also raised about possible conflicts of interest within the appeals board. Senegal have vowed to challenge the decision at the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Golf, South Africa's Charles Schwartzel has powered through a back injury to help the Southern Guards GC take an early lead at Live Golf South Africa at Steyn City. The former Masters champion carded an impressive 5 under par 66, revealing he wasn't even sure he'd tee off after struggling with back pain the night before. But with home support behind them and momentum on the side, the team now looks ahead to round 2 today, where captain Louis Oosthuizen says it's all about keeping the pressure on.
Pretty much what we did today. The guys did exceptionally well. There was high expectations, and in golf we always say you can lose it on the first day. You can't win on the first day, but you can lose it. And we did a great job just putting ourselves up there. I've just got a feeling that the live guys the players are really good. So. The scoring's not going to stand still, it's going to keep going. So everybody, you're going to have to stay on the pedal. The guys are really good out here. We've seen it so many times. So, stay focused, try your best, and see if we can get the result.
And finally, women's golf. Norway's Madeleine Stana holds the clubhouse lead at the South African Platinum Ladies Open on 12 under par after carding a second round 69. Scotland Lorna McClelmont is one shot back following a superb 65, while South Africa's Gabrielle Venter sits joint third on 10 under after grinding through 27 holes to post a 65. That's your sport. We'll swing back with more at the top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Good morning to you once again in Dowling. Let's check on one of the expressions of the pulse of the economy, the construction sector. You are telling us this morning that it's stabilized in quarter four.
That's right, Thulas, and this is according to the Afrimat Construction Index for the fourth quarter of 2025, which recorded a slight quarter-on-quarter decline of 1.1%, but remained marginally higher on an annual basis, indicating that overall activity levels are holding steady. Now, 7 of the 10 key indicators registered quarterly growth. Key components with the highest weighting, including the production and sales of building materials, continued to show positive annual growth, supporting the index. Now, construction works also rebounded on a quarterly basis, despite the typically slower festive period. However, a sharp decline in the building plans past points to some softness in future activity. And Dr. Rulof Botha, who compiles the report, said ongoing tensions in the Middle East also pose a risk, as they could delay further interest rate cuts, keeping borrowing costs elevated and potentially weighing on construction demand and investment.
So this came up in the conversation yesterday, or at least in the listeners reflecting on the conversation with the ESCOM board chairperson yesterday, Mtetho Nyati,
Yes.
about what is being done to make electricity slightly more affordable for industry so that, the economy grows and employment and the likes. And I said in response to that cry yesterday that's already happening, but it's got its own ebbs and flows, doesn't it? Tell me about Glencore and what they are saying about those negotiations to try and make electricity more affordable.
Now, Glencore is warning to walk away, or rather threatening to walk away from talks with government, Thulas, because it views the conditions attached to the discounted electricity offer as unacceptable. The company says lower tariffs are critical to keeping its loss-making ferrochrome smelters open and avoiding up to 1,500 job cuts. Government had offered to reduce electricity costs from R1.36 to 62 cents per kilowatt last month, but the deal is subject to regulatory approval and includes undisclosed terms that Glencore believes could threaten the long-term viability of its operations. Now, if the conditions are not revised, Glencore may walk away from the offer altogether, leaving its smelters exposed to high electricity costs, one of the main challenges for local producers competing against cheaper international ferrochrome mines, particularly the ones from China. Now, fellow producer Simon Chrome has already started layoffs over similar concerns about the deal.
Lastly, Dowling, where do the markets stand at the moment? Recap for us.
Kicking things off in Asia, stocks mostly in the red this hour. The Japanese Nikkei leading the losses there, down over 3%. Now, traders in Asia keeping a close eye on developments in the Gulf region while digesting monetary policy moves, with most global central banks leaving rates unchanged this week. Stateside, futures are flat after yesterday's downbeat close. Markets back home also under pressure following a precious metals sell-off, which saw the JSE All Share losing almost 3% in yesterday's session. The local unit, however, quite steady this morning amid the volatility. It's sitting at 16.77 to the dollar, 22.48 to the pound, and 19.38 to the euro. Lastly, in commodities, oil posting marginal losses this hour, but still trading above $100 a barrel.
All right, Dowling, thank you for that. One more update to look forward to from Dowling, and that one will be coming up just after 8:30.
This February, fall in love with friendships that feel like family.
old bonds, new beginnings, and chapters that remind us why love in all its forms matters. The story comes full circle in The Best Man, the final chapters, where love, loyalty, and life collide one last time. Because some stories stay with you long after the final scene. The Best Man, the final chapters, weeknights 7 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3. This February, love staying informed. As your day winds down and the evening begins, Primetime News moves to a new home. Weekdays at 6 p.m. The stories that matter, the context you trust, the news that connects you to South Africa and the world. Because loving what you watch also means trusting what you hear. Primetime News airs weeknights at 8 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3.
Stuck in a boardroom rut? Take your next conference outdoors at the Indaba Hotel. With 24 versatile function rooms set in lush gardens, it's the perfect space for meetings, conventions, and team building. Their dedicated team will tailor a package to suit your needs. Call 011-840-6774 today. Indaba Hotel, professional by nature.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, you've heard much of our story. Let's hear yours. Let's hear what's on your mind this morning. Let me start with one or two of the messages that have come through. You can only imagine the conversation happening around the coronation of a Nigerian king in the Eastern Cape.
No ways, Thulasizwe, no ways, Makujwa. Listen, these guys will be voting for their president now soon if we don't stop this. This must be stopped and these guys must go. No ways. I'm not xenophobic, but yeah, no ways. We can't let this happen here in South Africa. They've told us that we are a banana republic. Now I can see that, yeah, now they ruling. So Thulasizwe, no. Cyril must intervene. Our chiefs and kings must intervene. No ways. I'm still saying no ways. This is Bongs from Binon.
Morning, Thulas. I'm concerned with the borders of this country. Regarding this king from Nigeria, how did he get into this country and declared himself as a king? We have Omodoso who came here from Nigeria, do illegal things in this country, and gone. It's a big problem. And Nkosini Hlabisa must work hard when it comes to this. I think you'll be done, Krugersdorp.
Thulas, good morning. It's Nkosini speaking here. Pertaining the issue of the Nigerian coronating their king there, I think the media should get those people, because I believe they got a spokesperson as well. I think the media should get them and come to the radio and explain what exactly is happening, what they are doing. They are doing this on what basis?
Good morning, Thulasizwe Simelane. On the matter of a Nigerian king being coronated in that province of Oscar Mabuyane, some of the things doesn't need the dialogue. It doesn't need the dialogue at all. It just need not to happen in our country. That constitutional line when it says South Africa is for all who live in it, that was totally wrong. We can see the fruit of it currently. Good morning. This is Agmatio.
Yeah. All right. So and so on and on it goes. And I see a lot of people also calling in about that. Let me tell you the level at which I was now understanding the concerns being expressed. If for a moment I park the regular, usual concerns that are expressed about migration and the likes, where I understood also the concern is around how traditional leadership tends to work in this country. The argument that says, if you come into an area that already has a king, you cannot declare yourself a king. The best you can do is engage that king and saying, Ngizo Konza. What is Konza? Konza in English. It's almost seeking and requesting accommodation and incorporation into the community. And I suppose within that scheme, with the cooperation of the Eastern Cape Amakosi and other traditional leadership, you then become Inkosi under Ingonyama, Isilo, or whatever the arrangement is, Ikumkani. And basically, that part is what I also hear that says they're already kings. You at best you could be Inkosi. And there's something to be said for recognizing our traditional systems of leadership. That's why even in the Constitution, they are recognized the way they are. But at the same time, there's also this counter argument that says there's a right that is enshrined in our Constitution. In fact, two of them, Section 30 and Section 31. What about that right that says everyone, not just citizens, everyone is entitled to, has the right to use the language and to participate in the cultural life of their choice. And then secondly, persons belonging to a cultural, religious and linguistic community may not be denied the right with other members of that community to enjoy their culture, practice their religion and use their language, and to form and join and maintain cultural, religious and whatever organizations. So seeing as you do have a community of Nigerians in South Africa, how do they enjoy this right? It's a tricky one. I don't have the answers. I'm just putting the two arguments on either side.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Two of the big three routes into central Pretoria from the north under pressure this morning. Lights are down Paul Kruger and Bluto coming through Capital Park. It's heavy. And lights are down on Johan Haynes at Annie Buerta. So coming through from Vanderboom Pass into Gazina, very slow going. Crash on the M1 south at John Foster. Traffic coming out of Pretoria towards that one slow. The M1 opens up beautifully through Midrand. Not a delay in sight there. That's lovely for a Friday. We like that. It's standard. The R21 south approaching the airport's caught in a heavy bind. There's a crash, a vehicle up against the barriers, right lane obstructed going on to Atlas Road. Queues back as far as the Benoni exit if you're airport bound this morning. That's very heavy. Still with a crash on the M1 North coming up out of Eldorado Park into Devlin on your way to Joburg. That run from Deadman's Bend off the Potch Highway on the M1 North, very, very slow. In the Marlborough Drive, Mike 1 South, situation unchanged. Heavy coming off the N1 Buccleuch down in towards Sandton today. Breaking down truck at Town Hill just before Town Hill. So the run from Howick and Hilton, if you're on your way towards Durban or approaching Pietermaritzburg, coming onto Town Hill, very heavy backlogs. Looks like you might be into a single lane section there. There's some pressure on the R102 moving out of Verulam down to Phoenix. In fact, all moving north. Delays around Palmview and delays just north of the Trades at a Phoenix Junction. That's all very slow going. Cape Town, definitely a Friday vibe there. The N2 inbound, bit slow to Hospital Bend. The N1 this morning to Kuba, get a change. But apart from that, things easing up. Busy out at Somerset West, though, not unusual for a Friday. N2 just clogged up into the Victoria Street junction both ways. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This February, love the truth, no matter how unsettling it is. They were called accidents, a slip, a fall, a tragic mistake. But what if they weren't? Fatal fall, murder or accident investigates suspicious deaths from balconies, staircases and cliffs, where one question refuses to go away. Did someone push them? Through forensic science and haunting testimony, the truth is uncovered. Fatal fall, murder or accident. Tuesdays 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
As you sit in traffic reflecting on a good day, projects on track, clients happy, and they're a big one too. They trust you with all their sensitive data that's kept in your outdated work laptop, in your car, as you sit in traffic. Don't let bad tech choices get in the way. Switch to tailored secure cloud solutions, because nothing should stop your business. Call 084-1234. Cell C.
This February, love staying informed. As your day winds down and the evening begins, Primetime News moves to a new home. Weekdays at 6 p.m. The stories that matter, the context you trust, the news that connects you to South Africa and the world. Because loving what you watch also means trusting what you hear. Primetime News is weeknights at 8 p.m. only on S3. Open
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
All right, straight to your calls. Back to back, let me take them. Let me start with Faisal in the Eastern Cape. Good morning to you, Faisal. Ngiphilela kunjani? I'm well, Baba wena. Yes, please go ahead.
Thulas, you know what? It's really shocking and surprising the amount of hatred our black African people have for fellow Africans. I'm not condoning a criminal. There are people who come from outside. I can't even call people foreigners. You know, it's really astounding and surprising. Today, this party, what to call it, this party of this man, 27 people member party, what to call this, ATM, whatever you call it, they brought a subject about this king to us. This issue is a non-entity. This is nothing. It's nothing. Not a thing we will talk about. It's not a thing. Now, for anything that to do with the foreigners, they jump. And their target is only the African people. No. They come from Asia, they come from China, they come from Europe, they're fully in Cape Town and Sandton, we saw them. No, I don't say nothing. Because these people, they hate themselves. It's a shame. I've got nothing against them. Me, Malema is not my man. It's never. But Malema, on this one, I stand with him. He's right. You know, so much hatred they have. But to us, where this come from? I will tell you where it comes from. These people, they learn from P.J. Foster. They learn from P.W. Porter, the hot crocodile. They learn from understanders. They learn from AWP, Eugene Terraplans. It's exactly what they used to do. They're despising people to us. What is this? What is this? They learn. I can tell you to us. This totally, it's every day. And they say, no, I'm not xenophobic. It's not xenophobic. To us, the worst thief, the worst criminal, he said he's not a criminal. He's like a Mfundisi. The worst person to us, he said all the propane like that. You see, to us, what I'm saying to us, they learn, same like Jacob Zuma. Jacob Zuma, he learned from Helensville. Helensville, you saw, I saw for surprise.
Right.
He used to take Jacob Zuma in the court all the time.
Yeah. Faisal, thank you for that. I think I need to take other people. Thank you. Strong words there from Faisal in the Eastern Cape. Let's hear then from Khotso in the Free State. Good morning to you, Khotso. Goeiemorgen. Goed, dank je. Hoe gaan dit?
I'm looking for the time here to that. The issue of those rubbish Nigerians who call themselves the kings there at the Eastern Cape is not a government issue. It's an issue that is facing the community, the Xhosa nation as well. If here at the Eastern Cape there are the men at the Eastern Cape, they must show us that this Eastern Cape belongs to the Xhosa nation. Also, I want to point the finger to that guy so-called Bantu Holomisa. I don't believe that man is a man. But now he's supposed to show us that he's a man because when he was campaigning, he told us that the ANC is going to destroy the Eastern Cape towards the foreigner. Now this issue is facing Bantu Holomisa. We want to see that is what the action is going to take. Because this is not a government issue. I hear the people calling about the Velinkosi Visa. Does the Velinkosi Visa understand the position he occupied as a minister of the COP? He don't understand. The people must stop to call that man. Here is the issue that is facing community. But I trust the king of the Dalinga is going to intervene on this issue. We need the action, not the people to call the politicians. This is not a politician issue, it's a community issue.
All right.
Thank you.
Gotcha. Khotso, thank you for that. That's Khotso in the Free State. Alba in Sky City. Good morning. You want to talk about something slightly different.
Awusheni.
Avsheni, aye. Minjani?
It's okay.
Naina ifukin.
Yes, I want to talk about Senegal issue. You know, Mr. Simelane, Senegal plays South Africa at one game. There is a rule in soccer which says referee decision is final.
Yes.
They're not happy with the referee. They go to FIFA. FIFA grants them a rematch. They go on to win the game. No, there was no noise. Today, 1986, Diego Maradona scores a hand goal.
The so-called hand of God.
Yes, referee decision is final.
Yes.
In the 90s, Sundowns Chiefs, Rosman Cup final. Farmer scores a goal. Referee says it's offside. We look at it, it's not offside. Referee's decision is final. What if I were to say to you that that referee, the reason he did not stop that match at that time, Senegal bought the referee? What are you going to say? Because there is no proof for that. That is why he went on the way he did. So now, if referees knows now that what the CAF is doing now is good, so that every decision can be, even if I'm a club owner, if I buy a referee and afterwards it's analyzed that the referee was wrong, the results are reversed. At least that will limit corruption in the game. What CAF is doing is right, and I so wish CAF can uphold that decision. That
I hear you now, Alba. So you are arguing. Sorry, you are arguing against this whole rule that has prevailed until now that says referee's decision is final. Referee, as well as I suppose refereeing team on the day, their decision is final. You think this is the way to go? It can be reviewed and the result overturned is what you are advocating for.
Yes, because apartheid was legal, slavery was legal. Does that mean that it was right? No. So even this one is not just. That rule which says referee's decision is fine. It's not just. So that is why this is the best way to go. I applaud CAF for doing this. I applaud them.
Interesting take. Thank you for that.
CAF.
Alba, thank you. Interesting take. I hadn't thought of it that way. That's Alba in Sky City. Let's go to N Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance Essential is made for older cars. Claims are paid in cash within 5 working days, and you choose your own panel beater. SMS CAR to 43185. That's CAR to 43185.
In our top stories, Sergeant Nkosi returns to the Matlanga Commission this morning, and investigation traces Matibedi's company weapons to volatile Inanda. Good morning. Gauteng's Organised Crime Unit Police Sergeant Fani Nkosi has denied allegations that the Tshwane CFO, Gareth Mnisi, and Tshwane Metro Deputy Police Chief Umashi Dlamini used him as a go-between to communicate the obscure tender dealings. WhatsApp screenshots before the Matlanga Commission show Dlamini and Mnisi used Nkosi to communicate with each other. This is despite them working for the same metro. Nkosi, who returns to the Matlanga Commission this morning, is expected to face further cross-examination. Sibahle Mota reports.
Evidence leader Advocate Matthew Shackleton put it to Sergeant Nkosi that the Tshwane CFO, Gareth Mnisi, and the city's deputy police chief, Umashi Dlamini, used him as an intermediary to conceal their involvement in irregular tender processes. Advocate Shackleton further put it to Sergeant Nkosi that Mnisi and Dlamini used screenshots to communicate through him. He says by doing this, they were never seen to be communicating with each other. The evidence leader says this would ensure that the pair didn't leave an electronic trail of their direct involvement in these irregular processes.
Police say their compliance investigation into businessman Calvin Matibedi's security company in Durban has uncovered weapons linked to the volatile Inanda area. Authorities confirmed 11 firearms belonging to the security company are in police custody at the Inanda police station. The compliance investigation follows a ruling by the Durban High Court on Tuesday, which dismissed his urgent application to block the inspection. Police spokesperson Robert Netuhunda elaborates.
The company has got 815 firearms in their books, in their safes. That for now does not correspond with the record that we have as the police, because our records indicate that this company should be having at least over 850 firearms. Maybe those are just some discrepancies that can be corrected as we're operating, but they are also saying that 11 of their firearms are at subs in under, because they are saying they were taken from a security company. That also needs to be verified, but they said they've got sites in at least 4 provinces. Here in KZN, they've got 2 more sites in Newcastle, site in Gauteng, in Limpopo, and Western Cape as well. So if we don't get those firearms here, that means this operation must go to all those sites.
The SABC contacted Matibedi's legal representative, who says he has not been given instructions to comment on the matter. The state in the Senzomewa murder trial is expected to zoom into Bongani Ntanzi's bank transactions for the month of October in 2014. Ntanzi has been under cross-examination at the High Court in Pretoria for the 2014 murder of the Bafana Bafana captain. Ntanzi claims he was in KwaZulu-Natal on the day the footballer was killed. He also mentioned that he acquired a loan as he had to perform traditional ceremonies at his home during that time. However, State Prosecutor George Baloyi says bank transactions around the period of the killing do not support his alibi.
After the 24th of October 2014 up to the 31st of October 2014, you'll see that there are no transactions there. Do you agree?
Ngiyakubona ingakho nje phambi kwakho sekade ukuthi mina kuzoba nzima ukuthi ngiphendule ngalesi statement lesi ngoba mina ziningi izinto engizibonala engesizona iqiniso.
I see it. Hence, I am saying that it will be difficult for me to respond on this statement because there are many things that I see here that are not the truth.
The ATM is calling for an investigation into the reported coronation of a Nigerian king in East London. The party says the move undermines South Africa's laws and traditional leadership institutions. The ATM is urging authorities, including the Premier Oscar Mabuyane and the Home Affairs Minister Dr. Leon Schreiber, to look into the matter. ATM Parliamentary Leader Vuyo Zongula.
You could declare yourself a king in a place whereby the land has no history, does not belong to anyone. But when you speak about Kukombo, formerly known as East London, that is the land of Amaxhosa, and that is a land whereby currently there is a king there. Now, to have someone coming from Nigeria undermine South Africa as a sovereign country, undermine real leadership in the sense that there is a Xhosa king there and declares himself a king of East London, it is a blatant disregard and disrespect to South Africa as a country, to our institution of real leadership.
And finally, Venezuela's interim president has replaced the country's senior military commanders a day after she brought in a new defense minister. It's the latest change at the top of the Venezuelan establishment since the U.S. military captured President Nicolas Maduro in January. The BBC's Olivia Noon has the details.
Ms. Rodriguez, who previously served as Venezuela's vice president, has been cooperating with President Trump ever since the US ousted her predecessor. She was backed by the White House for the position and faces the challenge of uniting her country while trying to keep both Washington and those loyal to Mr. Maduro on side. The interim leader said the new military command would guarantee the peace, territorial integrity and sovereignty of Venezuela. The country's military is a powerful entity that oversees oil production, mining and food distribution.
Recapping the top story, Gauteng's Organised Crime Unit Police Sergeant Fanning Kosi has denied allegations that the Tshwane CFO, Gareth Mnisi, and Tshwane Metro Deputy Police Chief Umashi Dlamini used him as a go-between to communicate the obscure tender dealings. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Without insurance, saving on your car insurance feels like getting an interest rate cut from the bank. 30-year-old Dineo saves an unbelievable 1,094 Rand on her 2025 Kia Sonet. Get a quote now, and if OutSurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get savings or cash. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. OutSurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
Very good morning to you. In your SFM Sports headlines, it's cricket action live. The Proteas men will face New Zealand in a decisive 30-20 this morning. First ball at 8:15. The series is level at 1-1. And in soccer news, the Confederation of African Football under fire as Morocco controversially awarded that 2025 AFCON title, stripping Senegal despite losing the final. We'll have details around 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. If you're driving into Pretoria from the north, there's no traffic lights on Paul Kruger at Blue Street. The run through Capital Park reasonably heavy, and no traffic lights on Johan Haynes coming off Steve Biko into Casino at Annie Borta. So some delays there as well. The M1 South crash at John Foster, slow coming into that from Pretoria. The M1 through Midrand looking okay this morning. R21 queuing on your way to the airport. A crash by Atlas Road earlier this morning. Still got traffic back through towards the Benoni exit side roads in that area, fairly heavy as well. And still recovering a crash on the N1 North going up to the Golden Highway exit at Devlin, slow from the N12 Potch Highway into that one. Now, Durban bound coming in from Howick and Hilton, approaching Pietermaritzburg. Big queues there. Single lane open around roadworks and a stationary truck obstruction. That queue pushing all the way back to Hilton. It's very heavy on that southbound. You might want to use the old main, the old road to get through this morning from the Hilton side. Now, Cape Town, definitely a Friday vibe there. N1 inbound looking pretty decent this morning. N2, bit of traffic building up from Langa through towards Hospital Bend, and Strand Road through Stickland. Stickland's very busy. Strand Road going towards Belleville and LaBelle into some roadworks north of Strand Road up to Bottleray, very slow. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
10 minutes after 8. There's a lot of messages that are coming through, so I don't want to take up any more time. Let me just get straight to it. In the next few minutes, I'll be speaking to Dr. Siyabulela Fobosi, who is a senior researcher at the Department of Public and Constitutional Law at the University of Fort Hare. We are talking about the concerns around taxi violence, and this were brought to the foreground. Foregrounded is the word that is being used these days during the National Transport Conference, which was held in Midrand. So that conversation is coming up in the next few minutes. But as I say, I do want to get through as many of your messages as possible with a great deal of gusto, a great deal of energy and enthusiasm for that, because I'm loving the variety of topics that you've brought to the table. For instance, Brian says the Senzo Meyiwa trial has become an absolute farce and should be abandoned. Whew, that is heartbreaking, Brian, simply because there is a family that is seeking justice. And I wish I could argue against what you are saying. I'm not going to say it myself, but I'm not going to argue against it. A lot of people have come to that conclusion that says, where is this taking us? Whatever happened to the authority and power of the High Court to control its own processes and ensure that what year are we in now in terms of the number of years that it's been running? We're slowly approaching, I think I remember the Buremach trial and how long that went. And it's just the sidebars and side shows and this and that. And anyway, Brian, a lot of people share the sentiment that you have expressed this morning about that trial. Let's go to the ones that have to do with the issue of the coronation of a Nigerian king in the Eastern Cape. Someone says, a few weeks ago, we heard of a foreign national campaigning to be a councillor, and now this Igwe saga. The gentleman who said soon they will be electing a president in a foreign country. I'm starting to believe that. So I hope you're not referring to that poster that was generated of a Somali that was said to be standing for the position of a councillor, and one picture has this person wearing an EFF t-shirt, the other has him wearing an ANC t-shirt, and the third one has him wearing a DA t-shirt. I suspect that may be fake news to a certain extent, unless, of course, it is based on a true story and a situation that did arise at some point. But I saw that where people were just changing the colors of the t-shirt. And then someone else says, commenting on the Nigerian king issue, Aishem Sivelile as South Africans and Umqolo wethu uphandle asina leadership. Would Nigerians allow this in their own country is the question that one person asks. And then someone else attacks the whole notion of kings and queens and says, no more kings or queens in South Africa. Traditional leadership pre-colonialism was challenged and changed when leaders were not supported. It's now entrenched based on birth, which is a European system. Indigenous culture should be protected where it's not in conflict with our constitution. But traditional leaders who rely on the state for funding should fall away. And someone else, Muntu in Polokwane, says, Thulas, South Africans must leave Nigerians alone. Mandla Mandela has a Muslim wife. Cosmo City in Gauteng, all street names are of Indian names. And that's according to Muntu in Polokwane. A slight correction there, Muntu. The street names, and I'm not taking issue with the point you're making, don't get me wrong, just a slight factual issue. The street names in Cosmo City are actually quite interesting. They are names of areas and towns and countries. So I don't know if you have Cote d'Ivoire Avenue, then you have Massachusetts Street, and then you will have, you get my drift. But the point you are making, I am not intervening in any way. Then lastly, let me read this one. Someone says, Mr. Mabona was spin doctoring. R.W. Fick in Bosmont was disconnected this week and circuit breakers were taken. The zero disconnection story is false, says that one person. And then I want to read two that have to do with people. You know, we played you a bit of Lanitra Manga Manga by Salala from Madagascar. And there's just this request that says, please pay more. We're not a music show. What do you think this is? This is not a music show. Anyway, Pumzile Ntombela says, for example, in Hammersdale, says, the song you just played is a regular feature on Music of Africa program with Shayla during the weekends. I love it. Thanks, says Pumzile. So at least Pumzile is not making a request. My brother Kai Nkwanyana says, I have been looking for that song you have just teased us with. Who is the group name and the title of the song? To which I said, I'm going to let him suffer a little bit. So if you are nice to me, let's see what happens. Let's see. You know, in the spirit of benevolence, to quote a chairperson of the ad hoc committee, Soviet Lekhanyan, I might just be a benevolent anchor towards the end of the show. Welcome to it, the third hour of the morning brief.
Bafana are preparing for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, which will be hosted by the United States of America, Canada, and Mexico from 11 June to 19 July 2026. Bafana will host two international friendlies against Panama on Friday, 27 March in Durban at the Moses Mabhida Stadium at 7 p.m. and Tuesday, 31 March in Cape Town at the DHL Stadium at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are available at Ticket Pro at 80 Rand for adults and 50 Rand for children under 12. For more details, visit safa.net and Bafana on X.
Get Spar super savings at every store, in every aisle, every day. Like 500 gram Spar macaroni or spaghetti. Buy any two for 26 plus 50 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Or 2-liter Spar sunflower or canola oil for $64.99 plus 150 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Now that's super savings. Prices valid from 9 till 22 March while stocks last. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
This February, love the truth, no matter how unsettling it is. They were called accidents, a slip, a fall, a tragic mistake. But what if they weren't? Fatal fall, murder or accident investigates suspicious deaths. From balconies, staircases and cliffs. Where one question refuses to go away. Did someone push them? Through forensic science and haunting testimony, the truth is uncovered. Fatal fall, murder or accident. Tuesdays 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3.
Exciting news, South Africa. SABC TV Licenses has partnered with Capitec to make paying your TV license simple, affordable, and accessible. If you're a Capitec client, sign in to the app and click on Transact. Next, select Pay Bills, then click Pay At and enter your reference number to complete your payment. It's as easy as that. You'll receive instant SMS confirmation. Now you can keep your stories alive and your screens shining bright. TV licenses. Pay yours. Make a difference.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
18 minutes after 8. I forget sometimes to give a time check, forgetting that some of our listeners are the captives who are in mommy and daddy's car and the transport to school, and they have no choice. And the older people want to listen to current affairs and they don't have a choice. So they need to know, are we late or are we on time? Hopefully all of them are at school by now. At the inaugural National Transport Conference held in Midrand in Gauteng, concerns about violence and instability in the country's taxi industry took center stage following a deadly shooting at the Delft taxi rank in Cape Town as one of the latest examples. Dr. Siabulela Fobosi of the University of Fort Hare has called for decisive, tough medicine to address what he argues is not just disorder but organized crime embedded within the sector. We spoke to him a couple of weeks ago. Let's bring him back into the conversation. Dr. Siabulela Fobosi, senior researcher at the Department of Public and Constitutional Law at the University of Fort Hare. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. This culture of violence within the taxi industry is something that we grapple with quite frequently. You are saying it's not just disorder but organized crime. Say more.
Right. Thank you, Thulasizwe. Good morning to your listeners. Thank you for having me. Look, this is something that has been happening for quite some time, for a long time. And you're quite right. It's something that is reported widely, especially in Western Cape. As you know that recently there was a shootout in Delft. So I mean, it's something that just disturbs one. So I regard this as an organized crime because, I mean, it looks like it's a group of people that are working together to say, look, we're going to bring down someone, because this person is challenging us on this route in particular. Or maybe there's a disagreement in terms of leadership, and then let's hire a hitman to take down this person to do a shootout. So that's an organized crime. So it involves gangs, that are hired to shoot people. So hence I then say, look, I think it needs more. It's more than just arresting one individual. It needs to be tracked down, especially in terms of involving what I call a multi-agency task force.
So you are not discounting, are you, the historical and structural challenges that are sometimes brought to the fore in explaining some of the culture that you see within the taxi industry, the lack of formalization as well as just the regulation regime around allocation of routes and who gets to get into the system. By describing it as organized crime, are you saying that there are elements of organized crime, or are you saying that any of these other explanations should be secondary to the explanation that says we are looking at organized crime here?
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Thulasizwe. No, there's elements of organized crime, and you're right. The informatization issue has been there, for quite some time, and it's still there. And one of the things that I argue is that there needs to be formalization in the form of, for example, getting together a number of stakeholders, in what I would call a minibus taxi governance council, where they will talk about these issues to say, look, let's have the industry formalized. Let's have it. Let's have the taxi association transition towards cooperatives that will then be recognized by the government to say this is what we're working with. Let's transition from the operating licenses that are based on routes, but more based on towards networks, so that then there could be then this group of cooperatives that are working on this network. They know each other that work here. So there's no conflict in that regard. So I think the more needs to be done in terms of actually changing the industry around. Obviously, violence is one immediate thing that needs to be dealt with straight away, especially using the law. And by that I refer to the prevention of organized crime. As you know, that section 9 and section 10 of that act is very clear that those that are involved in organized crime should be arrested, and in actual fact, even their properties be seized.
In fact, you take me to that last point. I think the upshot of the immediate interventions you are calling for a stronger invocation of the Prevention of Organized Crime Act, POCA, multi-agency collaboration. What does that look like in terms of the multi-agency collaboration, as well as the consequences, including financial consequences for those involved in violence in the sector?
Right. Thank you, Thulasizwe. Look, that would then involve, one, the Hawks, the NPA, the Department of Transport, coming together, looking at the issues, investigating, those spots where there's major violence, those sex rights. They will be then be involved in investigating there. And once an investigation is done, those people that are actually involved in those violences, they can then they can then face the law, be arrested, and actually their taxes be seized, even their accounts be closed for that matter, until they face the law. And actually, Section 10 of that act is very clear that those people then need to be arrested for a maximum period of 9 years or 8 years. So I do think that the law needs to take its role now, to actually make sure that the industry is not law into itself as it normally portrayed.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for sharing your insights. That's Dr. Siabulela Fobosi, a senior researcher at the Department of Public and Constitutional Law at the University of Fort Hare.
Neighbor to neighbor, Chomi, this one is for you. If you didn't replace your SASSA Gold card before, your 10 is coming. From around April, you can replace it with the Postbank Black Card. It's simple. Bring your ID and visit a Postbank replacement site near you. For general questions, call Postbank Customer Care on 0800 53 54 55. To find active replacement sites, dial *120 *355 #. Postbank will never ask for your PIN. Terms and conditions apply.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, the fallout from the decision by CAF to strip Senegal of the title and hand it over to Morocco is, proverbially at least, almost nuclear in terms of its scale. Proverbially, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying literally, but basically it's one where the dust is far from settling, and we're going to live with that fallout for some time. Let me take a few voice notes that have to do with that.
Thulas. No, man, this decision by CAF is an embarrassment, Thulas. It's an atrocious decision, Thulas. I mean, AFCON is the ultimate African soccer showpiece, and it is way too important to be reduced to a boardroom decision, CAF wants to introduce boardroom soccer. No, Thulas. This is a slap in the face for all African players, for all the fans, the sponsors, and for soccer in general. Fans go to stadiums, fans watch TV, they want to watch soccer, not boardroom theatrics. No, man, this can only harm the image of African soccer. It's a sad, sad moment for African football, Thulas. Sad moment. Thank you.
Morning, Thulas and the listeners. CAF is wrong. If you can check even the body language of that in the final, it was designed for Morocco to win it, but Senegal came up with a surprise. They are wrong because a referee decision is final.
Yeah,
thanks.
Thank you for that.
Thulas.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Let me go to one call. Let me take Peter in Mahika, Tlhabane and Maftown. Come on. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Thulas. How are you?
All right. How are you? The last one of those,
I'm good.
Maftown.
No, I'm good. Yeah. No, I wanted to say, Thulas, I think you allowed Steve to get away with murder.
Sure.
What he said, it's a lie. It is common knowledge to us that the schools are in serious financial crisis. It is part of the reasons why the schools are not even able to pay for electricity and water, and that is happening across the country to us. And the problem here to us is only one thing: the issue of budget cuts, and it is not only hitting hard on water and electricity. It's even worse to us that you've got a situation now in the country where the teachers who were temporary, most of them were not brought back into the system in the name of austerity measures.
Yeah. No, Peter, I hear you. But let me ask you about specifically the issue, and we've spoken about the budget cuts and austerity and what it's doing to education. Specifically, what do you do when he says to you there are 0 schools that have been disconnected? Until you can prove, which I can't sitting in studio here, because I've not gone out to see for myself a school that has had its electricity cut. What do you do? And now we are getting messages coming through that say he's lying because at least one school was cited as an example.
Yeah. It's a difficult one
It is.
to answer, Thulas. But I'll be honest with you. In South Africa, there is no political will to ensure that we deliver a quality public service. I'm a teacher, and we are alive to this realities that things are very bad in our schools. And like I said, there's no political will to ensure that we are delivering a quality public education. I think the schools that are most affected are your Section 21 schools that depend on the government for grants.
Yes.
Because with the Section 21 money that the schools are getting to us, I can assure you that money is not enough for school to run its business.
Yeah.
It is for that reason that you constantly hear of schools that are running in debt.
Yeah.
You know about the cases in KZN, you know about the cases in Gauteng, and like I said, it's everywhere in the
school
country.
nutrition in crisis, scholar transport in crisis. Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that, and also speaking from the coal face, Peter. Thank you for that. That's Peter in my.
Thank you so much.
All right, that's Peter in Mafikeng there. Let's go to N Musa with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us in the headlines. The Freedom Front Plus in Tshwane has submitted an urgent motion to investigate CFO Gareth Mnisi and possible political interference in a multi-million rand security tender. This follows evidence presented before the Matlanga Commission. Gauteng's Organised Crime Unit Police Sergeant Fani Nkosi has denied allegations that the Tshwane CFO Gareth Mnisi and Tshwane Metro Deputy Police Chief Umashi Dlamini used him as a go-between to communicate the obscure tender dealings. Nkosi, who returns to the Matlanga Commission this morning, is expected to face further cross-examination. And communal farmers in several villages in Limpopo say they are experiencing cases of foot rot disease in goats due to the persistent rains. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Volumes are easing off around Gauteng generally, with the exception of the blockage on the M1 South at Century and a crash at John Foster Drive. Traffic parked back through Boata Avenue and back towards the R21. It is heavy. Still dealing with that crash on the R21 South at Atlas, so heading towards the airport from the Benoni exit, very slow. And just a lot of traffic, extra traffic around four ways. The N1 South down to William Mandela's quite so. Of course, it's the big Live Golf Championship, by the way, at Stain City, and a lot of spectator traffic there. City of Joburg did do really well, I think. City of Joburg and JMPD to deploy some extra pointsmen over the next few days. There's a ton of traffic lights down around four ways, and those traffic lights are primarily on the roads that take you out to Stain City. We never see any pointsmen deployed there, so that'd be a really good call. Durban easing up nicely as well. It's looking good. The N2 Spaghetti Junction, Magena Road section moving nice. The Mslanga and Kumashu section of the N2 also moving along well also. Cape Town, very easy Friday. It's Eid, I think, tomorrow, so a little bit of a stay away perhaps. A bit of shopping day today. today ahead of the Eid celebration, so taking a lot of traffic out of the volume. N7 north through Epping, that looks a bit slow there on the roadworks you pick up from Viking, and just a touch on the brakes as you get into the CBD over the elevated freeway. But apart from that, Cape Town noticeably lighter. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey Zai, good morning to you once again. So it must definitely fall on the Proteas they must go out there seeking vengeance, shouldn't they? Goes without saying.
Yes.
We can't.
It goes without saying. Yeah, absolutely. Luckily this cricket gives you another chance, and the men, they are ready. They are at the crease, and exciting.
Sorry Zai, a Kiwi can never trump a Protea.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, absolutely. We love the Proteas men. They're off to a steady start after being put into bat. They are currently on 25, and that's for the loss of 1 wicket after 3.5 overs. Tony Dezorzi is at the crease, and he's alongside, Esterhazen. They're looking to steadily rebuild after that early wicket of Vian Mulder. Now, New Zealand won the toss. They chose to bowl first, with the series level at 1-1, making this the T20 a crucial contest. Women's cricket, New Zealand, they've taken a 2-1 lead in the T20 series after beating the Proteas women by 6 wickets in Auckland. The Proteas, the women, posted 149 for 7 after being sent into bat, but the hosts chased it down with 8 balls to spare. Sophie Devine led from the front with a composed half-century, guiding New Zealand home in a controlled run chase. Soccer, Bafana Bafana coach Hugo Bruges has thrown down the challenge to young defender Ime Ocon, saying it's up to him to prove he deserves a long-term place in the national team. The 22-year-old Hannover 96 player has been included in the squad for the upcoming friendlies against Panama, with Bruges backing the quality of Germany's second division. African football facing a major integrity storm after CAF's appeals board controversially awarding the AFCON title 2025 to Morocco, despite Senegal winning the final on the pitch. The decision overturns an earlier ruling and has drawn sharp criticism, with former disciplinary head Raymond Hack calling it an own goal. Questions are now being raised about conflicts of interest and the independence of CAF's judicial processes, with the case likely heading to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Let's look at golf. The general manager of the Southern Guards GC, Richard Glover, says the number one objective when the team rebranded was to bring a live event to South Africa. Glover was appointed by Live in 2024 as one of 5 new team general managers. Speaking exclusively to SABC Sport, Glover says it was a proud moment to see the vision realized.
Yeah, so I joined Live Golf at the end of 2024 to take on the All South African team, which was used to be called Stinger, now has been rebranded to the Southern Guards GC. And I think our number one objective was to bring a live event to South Africa. I think we realized that as a team that if we were to be successful and really turn this into a business and a brand, we needed a South African event. And it's a very proud moment to actually be standing here and speaking to you about this, because I mean, if you see behind me, you see some of the crowds, you see the gees, and you see there's like the national pride that's just like vibing from this place. It's like a really proud moment.
Let's go to horse racing now. And the Hollywood Bets Durban July unveiled its 2026 theme, its Country Allure. Organizers say the concept draws inspiration from South Africa's rural landscapes and rich equestrian heritage, inviting designers and race goers to embrace elegance with a country twist. Now, the roads will lead to Greyville on the 4th of July. You can catch Africa's greatest horse racing occasion, brought to you by SABC Sport. And that's where we leave it for now. John Gericke will be planning his outfit as well as bringing you all the sport around 12:30. I'll catch you. That's tomorrow night, 7 to 9 p.m. That's on Spotlight. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Good morning to you once again in Dowling. Tariffs under the spotlight, and it has nothing to do with POTUS 47.
That's right, Thulas. The state, South Africa that is, has slapped hefty anti-dumping tariffs on structural steel imports from China and Thailand, targeting a surge in cheap imports that threaten the domestic industry. According to a Business Day article, Chinese structural steel will face a near 75% duty, while Thai imports attract 20.3%, effective immediately for the next 5 years. Now, the move follows an increase in imports in the 2023-24 financial year, with volumes from the two countries rising 19-fold and undercutting local producers like ArcelorMittal, South Africa's rail and structures division Amras, by around 20%. The flood of low-cost steel contributed to losses and forced AMSA to shut several long steel plants, putting thousands of jobs at risk. Now, Trade, Industry and Competition Minister Pak Stau said the tariffs aim to stabilize the market, preserve local production and protect jobs.
Let's talk mining for a moment. Tell me about Exxaro and them pivoting and diversifying, their areas of activity.
Yeah, the coal miner, the miner known for mainly mining coal, says the company's next growth phase is anchored in a diversified portfolio that balances its coal base with manganese, renewable energy, and selective exploration projects. The acquisition of the Tshipiborwa mine in the Northern Cape makes Exxaro the fourth largest manganese producer globally, with a resource of roughly 180 to 190 million tons. Manganese, critical for steel making and battery technologies, complements the company's energy and coal operations, helping smooth earnings across commodity cycles. Coal, in the meantime, remains central, with 9 billion tons in the Waterberg and exports from Grootegeluk projected at 7.3 to 8 million tons in the coming year. Now, these comments around diversification come alongside Exxaro's earnings, where revenue rose 3% to 41.8 billion rands, while profit fell 7% to 7.1 billion rands due to weaker coal prices over the reporting period.
Lastly, Ndauling, how are we likely to wrap up the week in market activity?
Local markets are in for a sour start to us as gold continues to trade below $5,000. That likely to weigh on local markets, local miners, that is, here at home. It's a quieter day on the earnings front, with only one update from the Foschini Group. So traders will be waking up to that. And then moving over to currencies, the rand holding steady despite the risk-off mood. It's at 16.80 to the dollar, 22.53 to the pound, and 19.43 to the euro. Over in commodities, oil slipping by 0.75% this hour, but still holding above $100 a barrel, sitting exactly at $102 as tensions in the Middle East continue to escalate. Now, that war weighing on equities as investors think about the economic impact with inflation pressures back on the table. And so we see US futures flat and Asian markets on track to close the week mostly in negative territory.
Ndauling, have yourself a fantastic weekend. That's Ndauling Lichela, who's kept you updated on business, economics, and the markets throughout this week.
This February, fall in love with the journey. No phones, no flights, just determination, connection, and the open road. From breathtaking landscapes to unexpected challenges, Race Across the World is back. Bigger, bolder, and more emotional than ever. Because sometimes the best way to find yourself is to travel together. Race Across the World Season 4, Thursdays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3.
Have you discovered the TV license WhatsApp yet? We see you, binging reruns, living for the drama, loving the SABC Plus sports replays. Now, paying your TV license fits the vibe. Simply say hi on WhatsApp to 077 6069 060. Get your balance, make a payment, or set up a debit order all in one chat. No queues, no please hold, just convenience that feels like it should have been here all along. Because every screen in South Africa is a stage and yours is lit. So why wait? Send hi on WhatsApp to 077 6069 060 and get your TV license sorted today. Hashtag your screen, your story.
Mzansi, forget the weather forecast. Powerball and Powerball Plus are making it rain lots of cash this March with a staggering 155 million rand in total guaranteed jackpots this Friday. Don't delay. Play Powerball for 107 million rand and Powerball Plus for 48 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app or cell phone banking. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old to play responsibly. E2 is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
16 minutes to 9. Let's end it off by talking international law, particularly African international law. There's an open letter that's out and it's addressed to UN women, and it is at the 2026 Commission on the Status of Women, and it raises concerns about the African Union Convention on Ending Violence Against Women and Girls. It's called the AUCEVAWG. That's the convention, the name of the convention. And let me say it again so you get it. African Union Convention on Ending Violence Against Women and Girls. While intended as a landmark treaty, the letter argues that the convention in its current form weakens existing protections and fails to deliver on its promise of rights, justice and action for African women and girls. Let's unpack it all. I'm joined by Sibongile Ndashe, Executive Director, Initiative for Strategic Litigation in Africa. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. Before we get into perhaps the disconnect between the intentions of the convention and what it actually does, what's the rationale for yet another convention on the status of women, also particularly focusing on violence against women and girls? In other words, how does it fit in with the rest of international law developed on the African continent on this subject matter?
Hi, Thulasizwe. Thank you for having me. So we have the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, which is the first human rights treaty that protects human rights on the continent. A little more than 20 years ago, another treaty was developed, which was called the Maputo Protocol, which then covers a range of women's rights, because at the time it was felt that the African Charter does not do that sufficiently. So the rationale for a new treaty was explained because there has been an argument that under international law, there is what is called a normative gap when it comes to protecting women specifically from violence. So usually when treaties are developed, it is really to provide rights and also to set out the state obligations, what states must do in order to protect rights. So for instance, we now have got new forms of emerging forms of violence against women. Many people are talking about technology that is violence that is facilitated, technologically facilitated gender-based violence. And these are the deep fakes, the cyber stalkings and all of that. So something that 20 years ago we were really not dealing with. But now because of all the technology, there are new forms of harm, of violence. So international law needs to evolve in that it looks for gaps or things that are not covered under international law and then seeks, to close these gaps.
Yeah.
There are things like femicide, for example. What should the state do? So when we litigate, for example, the organization that I work for,
Yes.
we keep on saying maybe there is a gap under international law, and then let's do that. So we can always have more laws,
Yeah.
that
Yeah, no, thank you for that. You set it out quite nicely, and I like the way you explain. You make it easy to understand. So what is the disconnect then between the intended reality of plugging gaps, the normative gaps that you were talking about, the new forms of harm, and the state obligations that would be created under this treaty? What is the gap between that and what the treaty actually does by way of definitions, as well as what some are saying is a regression in terms of what already exists?
Yes. So, when we start a new law, whether in a country or a regional or international level, there's normally what we are calling like a white paper or a treaty initiating document that spells out that these are the normative gaps that we want to close because this is what has been identified. And the challenge with this convention is that it actually does not have this, right? So when you look at the outcome, you don't have the baseline that says this convention wanted to do this. But we accept that, right, that there are gaps that are apparent that it could have kind of wanted to close. So the biggest concern, with this treaty, it's that first it was drafted in 3 months. The first version being made available on 16th of September 2024, and by the 22nd of December, they now have a final draft that's ready for adoption in February of 2025. Now, anyone who's ever worked on treaties take years to negotiate. What this means is that there was extremely limited public participation. The first draft was sitting at 156 pages, and now we are sitting with an 11-page document. There wasn't really a consultation with experts and all of those things. It was just a process of just hacking because it moved from 156 to 98 pages. So the process itself for developing this convention, it's unconventional because this is actually not done because it flaunts treaty-making procedures. And there are consequences now in the substance of the convention. So, for example, treaties are supposed to do really 2 things. They set out the rights and then the corresponding state obligations. In this convention, the way in which it is written, it's quite shambolic. Like, it would mention words like cyberspace, right? That now women can be violated in cyberspace. We argue that this is actually conceptually weak because we are not just talking about this zone. We are actually talking about new forms of emerging violence. They mention this cyberspace in different parts of the convention like it's an add-on, but they don't proceed to say, how does the state protect women from this form of violence? Like, even if you wanted to protect them. We do know what it takes because you have to regulate the big tech. So whether it's Facebook, like Instagram, where this harm is actually taking place, define these new forms of violence. So it lacks that kind of specificity. But the normative regressions that are very scary is that for the first time, family is defined as what is provided for, or defined under national law. What this means is for those states where you have got laws that discriminate against women, this convention effectively removes the family, which we do know that is the site where most this kind of violence that we are talking about kind of takes place. And so here you are saying whatever it is that member states wants to do to women, in the family, that's really up to them. International law has got no business. So it's only defined to remove the protection.
Right. All right, let's leave it there because of time, but I think it's a fascinating conversation and I would have loved to continue slightly more with it. Let's see what we can do to try and bring it back onto the table. A bit of international spotlight this morning on the Morning Brief. That's Sibongile Ndashe, Executive Director at the Initiative for Strategic Litigation in Africa.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. A lot of the earlier incidents around Joburg clearing up. That includes the R21 South crash near the airport at Atlas Road. Took a while this morning and really did back traffic, but it is out of the way and traffic approaching the airport flowing nicely. Also, the crash in Centurion on the M1 South of John Foster. That's being clear. That backlog's got through, but there's been another N1 South at Linwood. So traffic coming out of Pretoria just starting to backlog into that. Update, if you're arriving into Pietermaritzburg, traffic is moving a bit better now. It might not be free flow for the trucks coming from Hilton down to Town Hill in the truckers lane, but the other lane for vehicles now open. There is a crash around Marion Hill Plaza. In fact, that's just being cleared. It was well after the plaza, actually. It was a Key Ridge. It's just being cleared. We're watching a backlog now, possibly roadworks, the N2 between Sabaya and Schlanger. Quite a heavy backlog. Looks like possibly a single lane section's dropped in place there. If you're coming out of the airport or driving in from Belito, come off at Umsloti and work your way down to the M4, the Ruthfirst Highway, down through Umslanga and straight into Durban. Just bypass that big queue on the N2 in towards Gateway this morning. Cape Town having a pretty easy Friday. A little bit of traffic on the South Peninsula Main Road, Corker Bay area, but even that is starting to ease pretty quickly. And the elevated freeway as you get in to the CBD, just over the foreshore area there. That's a little bit bunged up. The rest of the highways around Cape Town eased up a lot earlier this morning. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Bafana are preparing for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, which will be hosted by the United States of America, Canada, and Mexico from 11 June to 19 July 2026. Bafana host 2 international friendlies against Panama on Friday, 27 March in Durban at the Moses Mabhida Stadium at 7 p.m. and Tuesday, 31 March in Cape Town at the DHL Stadium at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are available at Ticket Pro at 80 Rand for adults and 50 Rand for children under 12. For more details, visit safa.net and Bafana on X.
SABC2 is bringing the heat. New shows, new faces, and stories that hit home, like the one I'm in called Pimville. And that's where you can catch me, Michelle Masalakai, every Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. Live in every beat, the pulse of SA.
Hey, want to check your TV license balance conveniently? Look no further. Our SMS service allows you to do just that. By sending a message containing your ID or TV license number to 44210, you can quickly access your balance without needing multiple inquiries or waiting on hold. Plus, standard SMS rates apply. Take advantage of this efficient method to stay informed and streamline your payment process today. T's and C's apply.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let me take 1 or 2 of your voice notes. Let me start with this one. 2, in fact, that have to do with the goings on at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry.
Good day, Thulas and fellow South Africans. My question today is, when does Sergeant Nkosi do his police work? He was busy on the phone doing this, contacting this one. You know what time?
Yeah.
Did he manage to do his police
Central
work?
midfielder for the wrong
He has
things.
been getting salary for doing nothing.
Distributor. Anonymous, thank you for that.
Good morning, Thulas. I'm worried about this guy. This Nkosi guy is wasting the commission's time. I think the commission must just stop him from testifying and take him straight to jail. This man doesn't want to answer questions. He is just playing. She's just playing. He's taking time. I think he must just go back to where he belongs, the jail. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. I must say I've also been quite frustrated with the engagement. There's great value in what the commission is confronting him with by way of, the evidence that they've gathered. But they are not getting answers at all. So it's a bit frustrating. Lastly, let me take this one.
Good morning, Thulas. Thulas is if you become a king, that means you rule over a certain territory, certain land. So if a Nigerian king or a Nigerian claims to be a king in the land in the Eastern Cape, it says he's taking over that land. So this is really serious and dangerous if we allow it to happen. Mbongeni Ndebele.
All right, Mbongeni, thank you for that. And thank you for listening and for your robust engagement as always. And simply because you've been good to me all of this week, have yourself a fantastic weekend. The Talking Point with Kethi Mutlatlana is up next here on SAFM. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane, and you've been briefed, but also I'm feeling a bit benevolent like Soviet Lekhanyan. Have a great weekend.
Funenani ulumasine Aizan timbawani riana Nadiati natafaine Azambata witsuuniwa Rafkia sunani tane Nisisa na panirina riana Yadi na taufaine Azambata witsuniwa Rafikazu na nitane Nisisa lompanirina riana Na izao na yana Madalu fapiva Simisiunineto Kau kamaiva melariana Naizau nayana Mangalufa pivaine Simisiunineto Kau kamaiva melariana Sendra kavelontsento nilauza ni avati ana tumbundalana reny azy isika zambola hoany ry anonaha sendra kavelontsento.
In our top stories,